Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga. Chapter 4072. Jade Scroll. Linling, you're not the only one with luck. I have it too. Duan Wuhan suddenly clenched his fists, his fighting spirit soaring. After he finished speaking, he also walked towards Linling. At this moment, Linling arrived in front of an old man. Earlier, the guards had told him that if he wanted to register, he could find this old man. Moreover, this old man was a member of the four great gods. He was also a 10th grade divine paladin. Linling, Linling, Linling. When the old man saw Linling walking over, his voice stuttered. Although he was a paladin of God and was very arrogant in front of the great academies, in front of Linling of God, he was clearly much weaker. I'm here to sign up. May I? Linling stopped in front of the old man and asked indifferently. Sure, but are you sure you want to sign up? The old man's voice carried a hint of respect, and he was extremely speechless in his heart, because he also felt that if Linling registered, how could the others play? Yes. Linling nodded. Because this is the final round, so it's unavoidable for some people to make up the numbers. Ordinary people have to experience the Alioth spiritual thunder scroll to test their combat strength. The old man spoke helplessly when he heard this. An enormous jade scroll floated behind him, and it emanated the glow of treasures. There were a large amount of names on the jade scroll, and they were the names of those who were about to participate in the competition. Although the jade scroll was used to test the strength of the contestants, the old man knew that Linling's combat strength had definitely reached the standard. Just place your hand on the Alioth spiritual thunder scroll. Then, activate your realm essence and power to make the scroll release light. If it releases 2 rays of light, then you have reached the standard. Then, the old man began to explain. Linling nodded. He walked up to the jade scroll that was more than a meter wide and gently placed his palm on it. The jade-like scroll suddenly bloomed with dazzling light and soared into the sky. 2nd level martial god. Furthermore, the book released 2 rays of light, which means that Linling has met the requirements. Looking at the light emitted from the jade scroll, everyone's eyes narrowed. A breakthrough? That being said, they were still surprised by Linling's cultivation. After all, Linling was only a first-layer martial god during the divinity battle a year ago. Although it wasn't impossible to break through in 1 year in the final world, it was still extremely rare. Most importantly, everyone was aware of Linling's strength. He was able to defeat a late-stage martial god when he was only a first-layer martial god. Now that he had broken through, his strength would surely improve too. Therefore, many people guessed that Linling definitely did not activate the Alioth spiritual thunder scroll with all his strength. Otherwise, there would definitely be more than 2 beams of light that shot into the sky. Linling, congratulations on your return. Linling had just obtained the qualification. At this time, a voice of laughter was heard. Under everyone's gaze, a handsome young man walked down the martial platform. He was Duan Wuhan. Linling looked at him strangely. Ha! You're not dead yet? Damn it, how could I die? Duan Wuhan was a little proud at first, but when he heard Linling's words, he immediately became furious. Of course, he knew that Linling was talking about the divinity battle a year ago. At that time, countless people from the Duan family and the new heavenly court had died. His luck was good because he was the one who stopped Linling at the beginning. After being defeated by Linling, he did not join the camp to stop him again, so he escaped the disaster. It's good that you're not dead. Cherish your life and stay away from me. Linling looked at Duan Wuhan indifferently. After speaking, he turned and left. For people like Duan Wuhan, Linling didn't put him in his eyes from the beginning. He knew that this Duan Wuhan was a genius, but after repeatedly losing to him, he had already developed a heart demon. Whether it was his mentality or fighting spirit, in fact, it couldn't be compared to the beginning. And this was indeed the case. Every time he saw Linling, Duan Wuhan had a feeling of losing his mind. Now, seeing Linling disdain him, Duan Wuhan was undoubtedly so angry that his nose was crooked. Linling, aren't you curious about my realm and my fighting strength? Suddenly, Duan Wuhan shouted, his voice carrying strong self-confidence. The martial arts platform was also silent in an instant. Because Duan Wuhan had already gone through the preliminary and intermediate rounds and had shown great strength, many people knew that Duan Wuhan was not simple. The former Duan Wuhan was actually not weak, but his cultivation time was short. However, in this year, Duan Wuhan had obtained an opportunity that led to a crazy increase in strength. This progress even made many people envious. After Duan Wuhan was elated, he declared to the final world that Lin Ling was not the only one who was so lucky. He, Duan Wuhan, also had such luck and could rise quickly. Right now, Duan Wuhan was provoking Lin Ling in front of everyone. And this young heavenly voice of God, how would he face it? Not interested. However, Lin Ling did not look at Duan Wuhan and said indifferently. Everyone was stunned. The deans were also stunned. Although Lin Ling's strength was comparable to the city lord, Duan Wuhan was not weak either. The most important thing was that in the previous competition, Duan Wuhan did not use his full strength at all, so people did not know where his limit was. However, in the face of such a Duan Wuhan, Lin Ling actually said that he was not interested. Duan Wuhan was stunned and suddenly laughed sarcastically. Lin Ling, it's not that you are not interested, but that you are a little afraid. You are afraid of losing to me, and then the name of heavenly voice of God will lose face. You are escaping from reality. Hearing this, Lin Ling's footsteps finally stopped and shook his head. Escaping from reality? Duan Wuhan could say that. Could it be that Duan Wuhan thought that his strength had greatly increased, and Lin Ling had stayed in the same place? It was not that Lin Ling looked down on Duan Wuhan, but Lin Ling felt that even if he did not break through the realm, Duan Wuhan was not his opponent. Brother Ling, Duan Wuhan's strength is not weak, and there are a few people who are not weaker than him. Anyway, you are going to compete, so take a look at his strength. At this time, a clear voice suddenly came over. It was Yu Yu from the Snow Wind Academy. Although Yu Yu was very confident in Lin Ling, she was always worried about Lin Ling. She was also afraid that Lin Ling would underestimate the enemy too much, so she reminded Lin Ling. The most important thing was to see Duan Wuhan's strength. There was no loss. Since my wife has spoken, then I will take a look at what you are capable of. With Yu Yu's words, Lin Ling finally turned around and smiled. Wow, that is very powerful, Yu Yu. She is actually Lin Ling's wife. Hearing Lin Ling's words, some of the strong people from the major academies were shocked at the moment. Because in the previous competition, Yu Yu also showed a strong strength, which made them curious about who this beauty was. Some men who were fascinated by Yu Yu even tried to get closer to Yu Yu. However, now they all knew that this beauty was already taken. Chapter 4073. 10 people attack together. Senior son, please open the Alioth Spiritual Thunder Scroll. I want to let Lin Ling see my strength. At this time, Duan Wuhan shouted proudly and then strode towards the Jade Scroll. When his palm touched it, 4 rays of light immediately soared into the sky. Duan Wuhan's cultivation realm was at the 5th level of the martial god realm. Moreover, he had an acquired divine embryo and a strong divine power. 4 rays of light. This represented his battle strength. It was 2 more rays than Lin Ling. Do you see? Are you afraid? My current strength is not what you can imagine. Moreover, don't think that this is my full strength. I'm still hiding my strength. So, don't let me meet you later. Otherwise, I'll make you lose miserably. Sensing that his aura was constantly rising, Duan Wuhan was also incomparably proud. You made me waste so much time and you're just showing me this? Unfortunately, Lin Ling shook his head and turned to leave. He naturally also noticed that Duan Wuhan's strength had increased. However, this strength was really not enough for him to look at. You! Duan Wuhan was stunned. He thought that if he showed a part of his strength, Lin Ling would definitely be very surprised. However, Lin Ling was still as calm as usual. The way he looked at him could be described as simply ignoring him. This Lin Ling is so arrogant. On another high platform, the deans of the major academies narrowed their eyes. Today was the Divine Tao competition. It was the time for the experts of the major academies to exchange pointers. However, Lin Ling immediately became the host after arriving. He did not put the major academies in his eyes at all. Snow Wind Academy has Lin Ling. Their wings have hardened. However, Snow Wind Academy is so arrogant. Aren't they afraid of becoming a thorn in their side? Humph. Just a nouveau riche. In terms of heritage, our academy was established 80,000 years earlier than Snow Wind Academy. Snow Wind Academy has to call us seniors when they see us. No matter what, Snow Wind Academy is now rising. Among the 36 academies, their ranking is not low. All kinds of sour words floated out from the dean's mouths. However, Snow Wind Academy is only relying on Lin Ling. Although Yu and the others are also powerful, compared to the real experts of the third hall, their heritage is a little weaker. The strongest girl called an Yuer has an innate divine embryo. She is indeed extraordinary. If Lin Ling is defeated, then Snow Wind Academy will lose face. Haha, even God's heavenly voice will become a joke. After a conversation, the deans they looked at each other and saw the meaning in each other's eyes. They wanted to join forces and defeat Lin Ling. And the experts of their academies as masters immediately received the headmaster's academy. To be honest, they were Lin Ling. Because Lin Ling was only at the second level of the martial god realm. Although he had a divine embryo, this kind of strength was not qualified to become a trial taker. And they had been bitterly cultivating in the academy for 10,000 years. They had been to the forbidden area and had broken through the divine treasury. From any point of view, they were more qualified than Lin Ling. Defeating him, although it won't change the result, it can still vent a breath of resentment. Haha, God's heavenly voice was also defeated by me. If this matter spreads out, I think it will be a good thing. Among the experts, a thin and weak young man shrugged his shoulders and smiled. To him, what he feared was Lin Ling's identity, not his strength. Lin Ling could defeat the city lord, but in fact, he could also defeat him. There were even a few people here who could. Just as they were chatting in high spirits, Lin Ling's footsteps suddenly stopped. He looked around the martial arts stage with a strange expression and said indifferently, "It's a waste of time. How about this? I'll represent the Snow Wind Academy to fight you all." The martial stage instantly went silent. Because they originally wanted to target Lin Ling. In the end, before they could raise it, Lin Ling had raised it instead. Moreover, Lin Ling represented Snow Wind Academy to defeat them? Haha, Lin Ling, now is the Divine Dao competition. You're representing the entire Snow Wind Academy to fight. Then what will your junior brothers think? You have to know that the Divine Dao competition is also a time to test one's strength. I'm afraid your junior brothers won't accept it. A dean said indifferently. Lin Ling's words also represent our Snow Wind Academy. At this moment, the dean of Snow Wind Academy also smiled and spoke. She obviously also knew that in today's Divine Dao competition, although their Snow Wind Academy could get a good result, they obviously wouldn't be able to win until the end. In the end, it was because their Snow Wind Academy's foundation was weak and they had only risen in recent years. Therefore, the following competition actually didn't have much meaning. But if Lin Ling could win against all the other academies, it would be a supreme honor for the Snow Wind Academy. Their Snow Wind Academy had been established for so many years and had always been an existence that was mocked and looked down upon by all the other academies. Now that there was a chance to surpass these academies, the dean wouldn't miss it. Therefore, she also looked at Lin Ling with burning eyes. Lin Ling smiled faintly at her. The dean had once helped him a lot. The Snow Wind Supreme token was given by the dean. Therefore, now that there was a chance to repay the kindness, Lin Ling naturally wouldn't miss it. In fact, we're almost done fighting. Therefore, we feel that it's very suitable for Lin Ling to represent us. After the dean, young demon master and the rest also spoke indifferently. They naturally knew that if the competition continued, they definitely wouldn't be a match for those people. Not to mention other things, just the cultivation time, they had 10 times less than those people. Seeing the dean and the Snow Wind Academy's students speaking, the various deans of the major academies suddenly smiled. Regarding this, they also couldn't wait. After all, they didn't believe that Lin Ling could sweep away all the students. Since Lin Ling is so stubborn, then we can only do as you wish. However, be careful not to be eliminated. A dean suddenly laughed. However, when he looked over, Lin Ling had already appeared on the martial arts stage and waved at the various deans. That nonchalant look of his undoubtedly stunned all the academy heads. Following that, all of them were in a foul mood. Because that gesture of waving was too arrogant. After all, they were still deans. Why don't we draw lots and see who will be Lin Ling's first opponent? A strong cultivator immediately snorted, his voice filled with strong dissatisfaction. No need to be so troublesome. Let the 10 of you come together. This will save time. After all, I just came back and don't have time to waste on this Divine Dao competition. However, Just as the strong cultivator finished speaking, Lin Ling already shook his head and said. The audience was in an uproar. The deans of the various academies narrowed their eyes. 10 people together? One had to know that the remaining 100 people were all ranked 200 to 100 on the divine list. Although Lin Ling was powerful, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. If he wasn't careful, Lin Ling might be defeated. Moreover, Lin Ling also broke the rules. There was no need to draw lots at all. He looked down on others and let them go on stage. Moreover, there were 10 of them at once. Disgrace. Chapter 4074. As if meeting a god. All the deans were trembling with anger. Lin Ling was too arrogant. For a moment, the entire martial stage was silent. If looks could kill, then Lin Ling would have been skinned alive countless times. Lin Ling, I'll fight you. At this moment, an expert from the third divine hall finally leaped onto the martial stage. Boom. After smashing onto the martial stage, the entire martial stage shook by 30%. Feng Yao. An extremely ancient expert from the third divine hall. He was ranked 198 on the god ranking stairway to heaven. Me too. Following that, another person leaped onto the stage. Following that, more and more people joined in. There were a total of 10 people. In terms of seniority, these people were actually Lin Ling's seniors. However, they rarely stayed in the academy. Most of them were out adventuring. As for Lin Ling's name, they had naturally heard of it. In their impression, this rising star was extremely arrogant. However, after seeing him today, they realized that he was even more arrogant than the rumors. Boom. After the 10 people landed on the square, they exploded with powerful auras. There was a 10th grade ultimate desolate body and there was also an acquired divine fetus. The weakest cultivation realm was at the late stage of the martial god realm. Furthermore, each of them had the power of a god. Lin Ling, I know you did it on purpose. You pretended to not care and then challenged 10 people. That was because you wanted to win glory for the Snow Wind Academy. We can understand your painstaking efforts. However, we also have our own academies and we also want to win glory for our academies. Now that the 10 of us are fighting you, I'm afraid that even if the city lord of the 36 cities was here, he would not dare to slight us. So now, you should be regretting it. That's right. Don't think that because of the heavenly voice of the gods, we won't dare to touch you. Today, even if you are defeated, I believe that the gods will not blame us. The 10 people said in unison. They were gnashing their teeth. Clearly, they were furious. They would definitely not hold back. Looking at the appearance of the 10 of them, the various deans all laughed. The students of their academies also laughed. They were looking forward to it. Clearly, they did not believe that Lin Ling could defeat the 10 of them at the same time. I'll show you my talent. The man named Feng Yao even revealed his acquired godly fetus. It was a golden pang, and when it soared in the sky, its golden light illuminated the firmament, and its divine might was awe-inspiring. Wind Rock, the bloodline of the golden-winged rock. Looking at the majestic great Peng, one of the principals immediately nodded in satisfaction. Although this divine fetus was not Xiantian, it was still incomparably powerful and possessed extraordinary speed. It was said that Lin Ling seemed to have the speed of 5,000 worlds. However, Feng Yao had the speed of 7,000 worlds. With this speed alone, Feng Yao was unbeatable. Oh, very good talent. Lin Ling looked at Feng Yao curiously and nodded his head. It was undeniable that the experts hidden in the depths of the Shenzan Hall were indeed very powerful. If it was 1 year ago, Lin Ling would have to use at least 80% of his strength against Feng Yao. Are you scared? Let me tell you, Feng Yao possesses a speed that surpasses yours. You simply cannot catch up to him. Seeing Lin Ling nod his head, another expert sneered. Scared. Lin Ling could not help but shake his head. He was too lazy to explain anything. He glanced at the crowd and said, "What about you? Are you not going to show your trump cards?" "I'm afraid that if we show our trump cards, you'll be even more afraid." Hearing this, the others immediately sneered. "Then show them quickly. If you don't use your full strength, I'll be too lazy to fight." Lin Ling stretched out his right hand and played with his fingernails. He said, "So, you'd better prepare yourselves first. After all, if you don't prepare anything and lose, you'll lose unjustly." "Bullshit. You think you can do that? When the experts heard Lin Ling's words, their anger that had just subsided burned again. Boom, boom, boom. They immediately displayed their talents, world origin, and divine power. Lin Ling is too arrogant. Everyone was dumbfounded because they thought that Lin Ling intended to defeat them one by one. Who knew that Lin Ling would ask them to prepare themselves first? Wasn't this courting death? Look, that's the heavenly ghost Buddha King. At this time, someone exclaimed. One of them unleashed his divine fetus body. Behind him, a sea of ghosts appeared. It was magnificent and filled with ghostly energy. Above the sea of ghosts, there was a Buddha's salvation. This was a double talent body. One side was Buddha, and the other side was ghost. Even Lin Ling looked at that person in surprise. Not bad, he was indeed very strong. In addition to the golden rock divine fetus, there were many experts. Then, I'll give you 3 breaths time to prepare. After 3 breaths, I'll attack. Just when everyone thought that Lin Ling would treat them seriously, Lin Ling spoke again. This is too fierce. Everyone was in an uproar again. Because not only did Lin Ling ask the 10 people to prepare, but he also told them in advance that he would attack in 3 breaths' time. This was not a battle, it was simply guidance. Lin Ling, don't humiliate us. The 10 people were furious again. Don't be angry. Maybe this is his scheme. But very soon, a dean shouted loudly, reminding everyone. Even he thought that Lin Ling was no match for the 10 people. Therefore, he thought for a long time and thought that Lin Ling must be playing some tricks. That's possible. Everyone, don't pay attention to him. Fight with all your strength. After defeating him, talk to him. The people on the martial arts platform were worthy of being experts. They calmed down quickly. 3. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling finally said a word. Then he walked toward the 10 people. Moreover, he walked toward the center of the 10 people. Next, you're going to lose. Moreover, he didn't make a move, but he had already announced the result of these people. Everyone tensed up, thinking that Lin Ling would use some big move. However, no matter how they looked at it, Lin Ling didn't use any big move at all. He just walked toward the center of the 10 people. Yes, he was right in the center of the 10 people. And this angle was undoubtedly the best angle for the 10 people to attack. It was as if they were surrounding Lin Ling. For a moment, the 10 people were stunned. Could it be that Lin Ling was still playing some tricks? However, after staring for a long time, Lin Ling didn't do anything. He stopped in his tracks, put his hands behind his back, and then there was no more then. Deliberately mystifying. Fight him. This time, the 10 people felt like they were being played. It seemed that the name Heavenly Voice of God made them too cautious. Lin Ling was just strong in appearance but weak in reality. Crazy. Of course, it wasn't just them. Even the various deans secretly cursed. This was because, in the middle of the 10 people's attacks, no city lord in the 36 main cities would be so confident. However, just as the 10 people attacked at the same time, Lin Ling, who was in the center, finally released his divine power. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, a ferocious ripple of power rushed out. Bang bang bang. Chapter 4075. Sorcery. It was the same feeling as when Lin Ling faced Sister Zhen. Any powerful force seemed to be sealed and suppressed. Bang, bang, bang. In the center, Lin Ling took a step forward. When the strength of the 10 people was greatly reduced, he threw out a palm. His left hand flashed with yellow light and his right hand was dazzling with red light. It was the Bodhi testimony divine skill. Then, the 10 masters were all hit by the palm. Like kites with broken strings, they were all smashed outside the martial arts platform. Puff. Then, they all spat out a mouthful of blood, and their expressions changed greatly. They were just about to attack, but a gush of divine power rushed over and shocked them. Their attack, defense, and speed were all greatly reduced. Then, they were all defeated by Lin Ling's move. The martial arts platform was in a state of shock. They were all defeated in one move? 10 masters from the third hall of God? This must be a dream. What's going on? Even the deans of the major academies stood up subconsciously, and their expressions changed greatly. Is it the power of God? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. Maybe it's some unknown divine skill. It's too powerful. He shocked 10 people at once, and they were all not weak. What kind of martial skill could be so powerful? They were talking about it because they couldn't understand Lin Ling's means. After all, divine power was awakened by gods. Even if ordinary people had divine fetuses, it was very difficult for them to awaken it. Therefore, these deans didn't think about divine power. It was really rare for them to see such a means. Only Xueqi and the old woman's pupils changed, and then they were horrified. Because only they knew that almost 90% of the masters on Lei Gong's side had this means, which was called divine power. The power of the ripples was able to shake out the advantage of the divine fetus in the form of ripples, impacting the opponent's talents and causing them to lose their power. This was the legendary power of the gods. Who would have thought that Lin Ling would awaken the power of the gods in the hands of the thunder god? The old woman was obviously very excited. Because she was the guardian and had watched Lin Ling grow up, even she felt an unparalleled sense of accomplishment. What kind of sorcery did you use? At this time, the 10 people on the ground stood up while holding their chests and shouted angrily. Because they had lost in such a dubious manner. Sorcery? Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled. If Lei Gong knew about this, Lei Gong would probably hack them to death. After all, the dignified god's might was actually called a demonic art. Should he say that they were ignorant or stupid? Lin Ling couldn't be bothered to explain. He said indifferently, with your IQ, no matter how much I tell you, you won't understand. Ah! The 10 men were so angry that they felt a sweet taste in their throats. Their originally injured bodies almost spat out another mouthful of blood. This was because not only had Lin Ling defeated them cleanly, he had even used a contemptuous tone to speak to them. You've lost. Stop making a fool of yourself. At this moment, a city lord finally spoke up. Regardless of whether Lin Ling had used demonic arts or something else, the truth was right before their eyes. Those 10 people had all lost. Now that they were blabbering on, wasn't this even more embarrassing? I'm so angry. Those 10 people obviously knew this point, but they were even more unwilling in their hearts because they had lost in such a dubious manner. Well, time is limited, so I won't go down. Which academy's expert will come next? On the martial stage, Lin Ling's voice once again floated out. Although it was calm, it also carried a domineering aura. Senior Lin Ling, you're so powerful. That attitude of looking down on all the heroes had undoubtedly caused the people of the Snow Wind Academy to start cheering. The 2 deans of Snow Wind Academy looked at each other and could see the excitement in each other's eyes. Their Snow Wind Academy had not been so glorious for a long time. One must know that because of Lin Ling, their Snow Wind Academy's name had already shaken the entire world. However, it was only fame. It was not enough to challenge the status of those old academies. But now, they had the ability to fight against the old academies. If 10 people can't do it, then 20 people. Anyway, it will only take one move. Lin Ling's voice floated out again. There were more than 90 remaining experts of the 3 halls. At this moment, their faces were gloomy and they wanted to go up and defeat Lin Ling. But soon, the voice of the dean also floated over, telling them not to act rashly. After all, the previous 10 people had been defeated too strangely, so if the experts sent out were too ordinary, it would only be more humiliating and would make Snow Wind Academy even more glorious. Therefore, if they really wanted to fight, they would have to send out experts with some ability. I'm really aggrieved. I just returned from the ancient forbidden forest of the 9 regions. I thought that my strength had greatly increased and I would be able to make my juniors admire me. But in the end, I met Lin Ling, this freak. An expert fiercely said. He only relies on that demonic technique. If he can break it, Lin Ling can still defeat him. However, a one-armed youth immediately opened his mouth and stared at Lin Ling with strong confidence. He had obviously investigated Lin Ling's strength. 2nd level martial god realm. Possessing 4 types of divine power. Double divine embryo body. Moreover, his physical strength was not weak. This meant that if one had a late-stage martial god realm and also possessed the divine embryo body, plus more than 5 types of divine power, then they would have a chance to defeat Lin Ling. And among this group of people, there were a few who met this requirement. I'll fight him. At this moment, a confident voice finally sounded, making everyone look over and find that the one who spoke was Duan Wuhan. Duan Wuhan wanted to fight Lin Ling from the beginning, but Lin Ling had defeated 10 people in one move. If Duan Wuhan was not confident, he would definitely not dare to open his mouth at this moment. Therefore, Duan Wuhan's decision let many people know that Duan Wuhan had the confidence to defeat Lin Ling. Lin Ling against me, you can't defeat me in one move. At the edge of the martial stage, Duan Wuhan looked up and said indifferently to Lin Ling. His voice also made Lin Ling look down at him, but Lin Ling did not speak. Duan Wuhan immediately jumped up and landed on the martial stage, standing hundreds of meters away from Lin Ling. Boom! In his body, the terrifying Duan family bloodline was stimulated, causing the Heaven Fate Wheel to appear behind him. This huge fate wheel was like a vortex, and its color was distinct. Each layer of the vortex had a mysterious melody, as if it had swallowed the lives of millions of people. The Duan family's Heaven Fate Wheel is said to be able to attack and defend, and is the most difficult to deal with. Something's wrong. How did Duan Wuhan's Heaven Fate Wheel become so huge? Did the Duan lineage martial god pass down his mantle to him? It seems that Duan Wuhan did hide his strength in the previous competition. At present, he has 5 types of divine power. All the deans stared at Duan Wuhan, and then they saw the power of the Heaven Fate Wheel. Are you surprised? I said before that in the Jade Scrolls assessment, I did not use my full strength. Moreover, I want to tell you that it's not only Lin Ling who has the opportunity. Chapter 4076. One move. The Heavenly Fate Wheel was said to be formed by the heavens of the 3,672 worlds, and then used the lives of the 3,672 worlds as the foundation. This meant that the Heavenly Fate Wheel was actually the sky of the 3,672 worlds, and in those worlds, Duan Wuhan was their god. Boom! Almost at the same time, the Heavenly Fate Wheel erupted with a roar, and a treasure light soared into the sky. The vortex that was originally condensed from 5 mysterious lights now had one more. 6 divine powers. In the seats around the martial arts platform, people subconsciously stood up, and their faces changed greatly. Because Duan Wuhan's strength had increased more than they had imagined. Even Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Apparently, he was also very surprised. He guessed that the opportunity that Duan Wuhan had obtained was definitely not simple. Lin Ling, you have a divine fetus, and I also have a divine fetus. And your previous demonic arts against my Heavenly Fate Wheel will not have much effect because you are fighting against the sky of the 3,672 worlds. As for your physical strength, haha, sorry, my cultivation is higher than yours, so your physical strength is useless against me. And finally, the divine powers, I have surpassed you. Behind the fierce fate wheel, Duan Wuhan's long hair danced wildly as he said indifferently. It was as if he had been waiting for this day for many years. Your true inheritance, the Dark Sword, has 1 divine powers, and your Buddha-type power has 2 divine powers. So, you have 3 divine powers, right? Duan Wuhan sneered again, as if he had seen through Lin Ling. But Lin Ling shook his head and did not speak. Because he cultivated 6 dantians at the same time, his strength was mysterious and unpredictable. Even if he had burst out his strength in front of countless people, there were only a few people who could completely understand his strength. And Duan Wuhan obviously only knew the tip of the iceberg of Lin Ling. How could he be so confident just like that? I know that you don't dare to speak, but I won't force you. Because, it's time to settle the grudges between you and me. I, Duan Wuhan, will cripple your heavenly voice of God. I, Duan Wuhan, will tell you that in the struggle between you and me, you, Lin Ling, have been overtaken by me. You are no longer my opponent. Without waiting for Lin Ling to open his mouth, Duan Wuhan shouted in high spirits. Cripple heavenly voice of God. Everyone was also frightened by Duan Wuhan's tyrannical actions. Crippling Lin Ling was equivalent to offending a god. Moreover, people did not expect Duan Wuhan's ambition to be so huge that he actually set his goal to surpass Lin Ling. In fact, from the very beginning, there was no lack of experts from the 36 academies who wanted to surpass Lin Ling. But in the end, they all failed. On the contrary, many of the older generation of Shen San Hall masters were surpassed by Lin Ling. Over time, people came to know that Lin Ling was a rising star. He was the only one who could surpass others, and others would never have the chance to surpass him. But now, there was one person who still persevered. This person was Duan Wuhan. Seeing Duan Wuhan erupting with an imposing aura, Lin Ling's eyes finally looked at him seriously. Of course, this was not a look at the other's strength, but a look at the other's ambition. Surpass him, Lin Ling? In today's 9 regions, there was only one person who could be recognized by Lin Ling. Duan Wuhan was not qualified to call himself a genius in front of him. Lin Ling. You're done with your nonsense, Lin Ling said indifferently. Hearing this, Duan Wuhan's eyes flashed coldly as he shouted. Come on, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. I will let you have 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will defeat you in 1 move. Lin Ling was stunned. Let him have 3 moves? Then he, Lin Ling, did not need to be polite. This time, Lin Ling did not urge his divine power. Instead, except for the divine power of the true inheritance, the dark sword, he urged all of his divine power. Human Sovereign's Flame, 4 divine powers. Thunder Lock Physique, 3 divine powers. Bodhi Array Divine Technique, 2 divine powers. He took a step and rushed towards Duan Wuhan. At this moment, the Heaven's Fate wheel behind Duan Wuhan was rolling, resisting the power of Lin Ling's impact. But when Lin Ling approached, Duan Wuhan found that he could not stop it at all. The Heaven's Fate wheel seemed to be about to collapse. And at this moment, the 2 palms came crashing down like mountains and seas. Rumble! The Heaven's Fate wheel that resisted Lin Ling's 9 divine powers collapsed in an instant and then exploded. Duan Wuhan's face changed greatly. He urged the 6 divine powers in an attempt to resist Lin Ling's palms. Rumble! When the 2 forces collided, the entire snow-blowing city immediately swayed wildly. The weak people were even more unstable and sat down on the ground with a plop. When he looked at the martial stage again, it instantly collapsed, and a terrifying divine power swept out. It was as if 2 gods were colliding, and the terrifying impact actually shattered the clouds in the sky into dust. While the power of the martial platform was still colliding, a figure finally seemed to be blown by a strong wind and shot to the ground at an oblique angle. The earth also shook in an instant. People also clearly saw that it was Duan Wuhan. After Duan Wuhan hit the ground, like a sandbag, he bounced 3 times in a row. Finally, he lay there motionless, constantly vomiting blood from the corner of his mouth. Looking at his hands again, at this moment, they were badly mutilated and completely destroyed. And looking at his appearance, even if he did not die, he would be crippled. The eyes of the audience were frozen there. The deans of the major academies were also stunned. The masters of the 3 divine halls who were about to fight trembled even more. Duan Wuhan was defeated. Even 5 strands of godly power were useless. No matter how much Duan Wuhan's strength had improved and how much divine power he had, in the face of Lin Ling, he was not his opponent at all. Ironically, he actually intended to let Lin Ling make 3 moves. The air was inexplicably strange. The whole city was terrifyingly quiet. Although people were very afraid of Lin Ling, they were even more afraid of Lin Ling's identity. People knew that Lin Ling's strength was very powerful, but at least, Lin Ling was not invincible. Not to mention others, the deans present were stronger than him. However, now they found that this seemed to be an illusion. Lin Ling did not seem to have broken out his full strength in the Meet the Gods battle a year ago. Now this was his full strength. It's really just 1 move. In the silence, someone let out a horrified voice. The words scared the masters of the 3 divine halls. Now they were not so confident. All eyes fell on the martial arts platform, staring at the handsome young man. Heavenly voice of God. Lin Ling. They finally knew that he was not to be trifled with. Everything was as the city lords had imagined. Lin Ling returned this time to oppress people. Those who did not submit would be oppressed until they submitted. Duan Wuhan, of all the geniuses I have seen in my life, only one person is qualified to be compared with me. You are far from it. At this time, Lin Ling's indifferent voice floated out. He had defeated Duan Wuhan several times, but he had not been ruthless, so this time, he would not be merciful. The divine power from before was probably enough to cripple Duan Wuhan. Chapter 4077. Translator. Nyoibo Studio Trial Challenger, the 7th Prince. After hearing Lin Ling's words, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Furthermore, before he fainted, he clearly knew that he was going to be crippled. What a powerful strength. That's probably above the 6 Tao realm. But a year ago, he didn't have so much divinity. I estimate that the power of a god to be above 8. Now that his weakest domain has improved, There's no way for him to fight anymore. It's better to admit defeat. Damn it! This is the Divine Tao Great Competition. Are all of our great academies here to be abused? The various deans also recognized the reality of the situation, and their hearts were filled with unwillingness and jealousy. On the other hand, the Snow Wind Academy was filled with cheers. The two deans were so excited that they laughed heartily. In fact, such a scene was not rare in the previous Divine Tao Great Competition. However, at that time they were the ones who were abused. Today, they were just returning the favor. After all, no matter what, they were the hosts. According to the rules, the host should be the strongest in the competition. Looks like it's over. But this year's Divine Tao Great Competition is also fascinating. In the distant stands, Xueqi stood up and smiled faintly. When the other city lords heard this, they smiled bitterly. It was very exciting. However, the highlight was only Snow Wind Academy. The other academies had instead become foils. As expected of the host. Well, it's over. Look at the experts of the third hall. I'm afraid they don't dare to fight anymore. What goes around comes around. Today, it has come to Snow-Blowing City. Then, the city lords sighed again and again. Their gazes landed on the experts of the various academies. At this moment, they were like roosters that had been drenched in the rain. What pride did they have left? They had no choice but to submit. As a trial taker, is there any point in bullying them? But at this moment, endless divine emperor light suddenly descended from the sky. Then, a large number of figures appeared in front of everyone's eyes, looking very majestic. Is that the emperor of the mysterious palace? Crown Prince Xingrua? It's them. Everyone turned their gazes to the sky and were instantly shocked. This was because these martial artists who had suddenly appeared were all extremely terrifying existences. In fact, many of them were experts from the third hall. They could have participated in the competition, but they were too proud to do so. Most importantly, that group of people had the same characteristic, and that was the purple chi. Because in that group of people, any one of them was an existence like His Majesty's nobleman. The seventh prince. The deans of the various academies stared at the young man in the lead as they recognized him. This was especially true for the dean of Miaoshan Academy, who was extremely excited. The seventh prince was once a top expert of the third divine hall. He came from the Miaoshan Academy, one of the 36 academies. The Miao God Academy was the academy of the Miao God Palace, and that place was the core of the final world. Emperor Miao was one of the top 10 martial gods in the 9 prefectures. Therefore, the Miao God Academy was the most prestigious and luxurious academy among the 36 academies. Seventh Prince, you're here. The dean of Miaoshan Academy immediately stood up and said. He looked even more excited. This was because he hadn't expected that the seventh prince would come. Now that he had joined, the Divine Tao Great Competition hadn't ended yet. The seventh prince would definitely suppress Lin Ling's spirit. I just happened to pass by here and saw this scene. However, some people are really thick-skinned. In the sky, a young man wearing a purple robe and a jade crown slowly walked down. He had his hands behind his back, and he looked like a gentleman who had descended. The people behind him all had extraordinary temperaments, and the way they looked at the crowd innately carried a sense of superiority. This was because they were also members of the 7th Imperial Alliance. Seventh Prince, do you want to fight Lin Ling? A dean immediately asked with anticipation. Of course. Lin Ling is a trial taker, and so am I. It's very fair for me to fight him. The seventh prince stepped on the divine bridge and walked along it, step by step, to the martial stage. Then, he looked at Lin Ling with contempt and said, Do you still have any shame? As a trial taker, do you think it's fun to bully them? Or is it that you, the divine voice of heaven, only dare to be arrogant in front of these people? His voice was very calm, but it carried a domineering aura as if he was a monarch reprimanding his subjects. Seeing that the seventh prince was so aggressive, Lin Ling calmly stared at him. He naturally knew who the seventh prince was. Back in the ancient dragon desolate land, the seventh prince had fought with him for an year. However, he was defeated by Lin Ling in the end with countless treasures. He did not expect to see him again today. Furthermore, Lin Ling also knew that the seventh prince was indeed a trial taker. You said I'm shameless, but I think you're shameless too. Lin Ling put away his thoughts and laughed sarcastically. What a joke. Do you think I'm like you, participating in this competition just to please the crowd? Do you think I'm like you, bullying the weak? Hearing this, the seventh prince harumphed coldly. Is that so? Then may I ask if your excellency, seventh prince, did you try to kidnap the bride in the ancient dragon desolate land? Weren't you bullying others back then as well? You were just unlucky and failed. Lin Ling shrugged and replied, that's right. As soon as this sentence fell, the seventh prince was stunned. Thinking of the past, his face became gloomy. Back then, he was determined to get a new heir. However, Lin Ling snatched her from his hands. This was a huge humiliation to him. After that, he found out that the mysterious young man, Lin Ling, was actually one of the trial takers. Also, may I ask if you know how many years I've been cultivating in the Snow Wind Academy? And how many years have they been cultivating? Seeing the seventh prince's face turn black, Lin Ling spoke again. I know that your cultivation time is shorter than theirs, but you're a trial taker. The seventh prince immediately said coldly. Since you know that my cultivation time is shorter than theirs, that's enough. Because, my cultivation time is so short, but I've also become the heavenly voice of God. What about them? Not only are they weaker than me, they can't even be considered as trial takers. May I ask if I've been cultivating for the same amount of time and I've achieved all these while they haven't? Am I bullying them or are they trash? Lin Ling took a step forward, his aura like thunder. The seventh prince was stunned and found it difficult to answer. Lin Ling's cultivation time was shorter than most of the people here. Now that he was the heavenly voice of God, those people were still at the same place. Now that they had lost to Lin Ling, they had the nerve to say that Lin Ling was bullying them? If they wanted to blame someone, they could only blame themselves for being too useless. Let me ask you again, how many years have you been a trial taker? At this time, Lin Ling spoke again. Me. The seventh prince was stunned for a moment. He wanted to speak, but his brows instantly furrowed. Because he suddenly guessed why Lin Ling asked this question. Lin Ling wanted to compete with him, the seventh prince, in terms of time to become a trial taker. Chapter 4078. A Clash of Leaders. You don't dare to answer? This is the seventh prince? In my opinion, he's more like a piece of shit. Lin Ling shouted. You said that I bullied these people, and that's all there is to it. But what about you? You've been a trial taker for much longer than me. Now that you've come out to be so arrogant, aren't you also bullying people? Lin Ling had never had a good impression of the seventh prince because the latter had once snatched a new heir. You! Hearing Lin Ling's bullshit, the seventh prince's face instantly turned cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. With the seventh prince's prestige, how could he endure being reprimanded in front of so many people? The crowd was in an uproar. They didn't expect Lin Ling to be so arrogant, openly provoking the seventh prince. After all, Lin Ling was a trial taker, but so was the seventh prince. The seventh prince didn't need to be so afraid of Lin Ling. Of course, many people didn't know that Lin Ling and the seventh prince already had a grudge against each other. You said that I'm thick-skinned, but where's your face? However, Lin Ling was still unforgiving. Of course, you can bully others if you want, but you're not qualified to bully me. If I remember correctly, in the ancient dragon wasteland, you were trampled under my feet, and you even tried to snatch the bride from me. You lost miserably, so where's your face at that time? Lin Ling's voice was like a string of cannons, and the seventh prince's body trembled. Obviously, he didn't expect that before he could suppress Lin Ling, he would be trampled by Lin Ling. As a trial taker and the leader of the Seventh Emperor Alliance, how could he swallow this insult? In fact, the experts of the Seventh Emperor Alliance couldn't swallow this insult either. However, they endured it because they knew that the seventh prince would definitely do something. However, the experts of the God Slayer Alliance were also watching from the Snow Wind City. Each and every one of them was incomparably excited. Now, it seemed like the leaders of the God Slayer Alliance and the Seventh Emperor Alliance were clashing. Very well, Lin Ling, I want to fight you and teach you a lesson on behalf of your Lord God. The seventh prince knew that he could not out-talk Lin Ling, so he planned to use his strength to wash away the humiliation. As you wish. Lin Ling already knew that this would happen. Furthermore, he did not fight against the seventh prince last time. Today, he would be able to meet this challenger. Wow, the trial challengers are fighting. The whole city was in an uproar when they saw the two experts confronting each other. The trial takers were extremely mysterious existences to many people. They followed the gods, and whether it was in terms of strength or methods, they were beyond the imagination of ordinary people. As for Lin Ling, he was a new trial challenger. The seventh prince, a challenger who had been famous for a long time. The clash between these two great trial challengers would definitely be incomparably exciting. Lin Ling, I will let you know what it means to be a senior. The seventh prince unleashed his strength. He also possessed the divine fetus body and was not weak at all. Moreover, he had 8 strands of divine fetus body. Although he had 1 less strand than Lin Ling, his cultivation was higher. He was a level 9 martial god. Most importantly, the realm essence that he cultivated was different from that of ordinary people. It was a kind of divine emperor chi. In terms of purity and overbearingness, it greatly surpassed the realm essence of ordinary people. Obviously, he was an existence that surpassed most of the city lords. There were probably no more than 4 city lords who could compete with him. He was also an expert who ranked at the top of the 100 on the divine ranking. Boom! He took a step forward and 9 dragons circled around his body. Then, a ferocious true dragon circled around his arm. He punched out. This punch seemed to have revealed the great Tao of the universe and the nobility of life. Dragon. However, his dragon was not the bloodline of the dragon tribe. It was a true dragon formed by a powerful divine emperor chi. It could be said that he was the emperor of the mortal realm. Boom. On the other hand, Lin Ling went all out. He merged his talents, his physical strength, and his realm essence. He activated his divine fetus body and clashed with the seventh prince. Rumble! In midair, a terrifying power erupted. Their fists collided in midair, and the power that erupted from their fists was absolutely terrifying. Lin Ling, is that all you've got? The seventh prince was shocked after he collided with Lin Ling. He did not expect Lin Ling to be so powerful that he could block his punch. You're right. That's all I've got. Compared to the seventh prince's shock, Lin Ling was not as shocked. Instead, he was a little disappointed. After the collision, he realized that the seventh prince was not as powerful as he had imagined. Therefore, he attacked again. His fist was still extended forward. However, a terrifying power was gathering in his foot. Then he kicked at the sky. Oh no! The seventh prince's expression changed. He pulled back his fist and pressed his hands to the ground. As soon as he did that, Lin Ling kicked at him. Rumble! Rumble! Although the kick was blocked by the seventh prince, he was still hit by the shockwave. His hair danced wildly, and he looked like he was barely holding on. Behind him, the sky split open. A sword mark like a wave of energy shot up into the sky. This energy was obviously produced by Lin Ling's kick. How terrifying. I'm afraid he was just warming up before. Now he's going all out. Lin Ling is too monstrous. I knew it. He was just torturing people in the previous competition. He didn't use his full strength at all. The two of them seemed to be evenly matched. However, Lin Ling became a trial taker later than the seventh prince. Everyone was shocked by this battle. Those voices had undoubtedly caused the seventh prince to be unable to swallow his pride. That's all you've got. At this moment, Lin Ling's voice resounded. Then, his other foot soared into the air. It was mixed with the power of divinity, world essence, and the strength of his body. Like a blade, it slashed towards the seventh prince's head. Crackle! The void was instantly shattered. However, when the sole of his foot reached the seventh prince's head, 9 dragons shot up into the sky, forming a purple light screen that blocked Lin Ling's kick. However, although he blocked Lin Ling's attack, the seventh prince was even angrier. This was because the script he had in mind was not like this. He originally thought that once he attacked, Lin Ling would be suppressed by him. At that time, he would let Lin Ling know the price of bad breath. However, the script now was that he was suppressed by Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you! The seventh prince was enraged and shouted angrily. Fly for me! Lin Ling smiled and used the step of wisdom. It enveloped the seventh prince and instantly sealed a portion of his strength. The seventh prince had the divine fetus, so the step of wisdom could only seal a portion of his strength. However, to Lin Ling this was enough. After sealing the seventh prince's strength, Lin Ling's fist punched out like a battering ram. The power of fire, thunder, and so on all gathered on that fist. Boom! Chapter 4079. Super Crushing. Rumble. Behind the seventh prince there was an immediate impact. Clearly, after Lin Ling's punch landed on the seventh prince's stomach, the impact passed through the seventh prince's body and affected the sky behind the seventh prince. Rumble. This. Such a terrifying scene shocked everyone once again. At the same time, blood flowed out from the corner of the seventh prince's mouth. He lowered his head in disbelief as if he could not believe that Lin Ling had hit him. In the next moment, a torrential storm of power finally erupted from his stomach. Swoosh! He could not control his body and was shot towards Snow City like a cannonball. Rumble! A large number of houses collapsed in an instant. The entire city was shaking as if it was about to collapse. How dare you hit on my wife? I'm paying you back for that punch. Lin Ling said with a faint smile as he floated in the sky. The entire city was shocked. Even Xueqi and the others were shocked. Xueqi knew that Lin Ling was more powerful than him. However, he had always thought that Xuemo was only slightly more powerful. Now, it seemed that Lin Ling was more than twice as powerful as him. The most terrifying thing was that Lin Ling's cultivation was only at LV2 Martial God Realm. Leader, are you all right? Looking at the Seventh Emperor Alliance, all the princes stared in the direction where the seventh prince had been sent flying and suddenly stammered. This was the first time they had seen the seventh prince being beaten so badly. Hush! On the other hand, the God Slayer Alliance booed and mocked. Rumble! However, as a trial tester, the seventh prince's strength was not that simple. Soon, a figure rushed out from the ground and charged toward Lin Ling with rolling tribulation clouds. Lin Ling, I'm going to kill you. The seventh prince's eyes turned red and bloodshot. To make him, a participant, lose so much face, this was a great humiliation to the seventh prince. He, the seventh prince, had been the son of a god since he was young. He had always been the center of attention, and his life had always been smooth sailing. He was always the center of attention wherever he went. When had he ever been humiliated like this? When the seventh prince appeared not too far away from Lin Ling, a tyrannical power erupted from his body. The 9 dragons coiled around him and erupted with a radiance similar to that of a sea urchin. Divine might. Super Berserker realm. Obviously, he also knew that Lin Ling was stronger than him in terms of strength. Lin Ling even had a strange method that could seal a portion of his strength. Therefore, he used his divine might to intimidate Lin Ling and greatly reduce Lin Ling's battle prowess. This was also the effect of Shen Wei. Life and Death True Dragon, Limitless Divine Dragon, 5 Elements Royal Dragon, Golden Fire King Dragon, Great Yin Yang Emperor Dragon, Radiant Grand Dragon, Star King Ancient Dragon, Paradise Immortal Dragon, and Ao Tai Star Dragon. All kinds of true dragons filled the entire sky. These dragons were all true dragons, the dragons of 9 and 5. The Supreme 9 Palace Divine Emperor technique. Adine trembled and looked at the sky in disbelief. Such power. Rumble. As the 9 dragons coiled around the 7th prince, the radiance of the sea urchin continued to spread. Everywhere it passed, people felt a sense of worship. Their battle prowess was completely suppressed. It was as if they were looking at a god. What kind of magical ability is this? Why is it so powerful? Many people kept exclaiming because among them, there were people with acquired godly fetuses. However, they were also suppressed to the point of being unable to move. Could this be the legendary Shen Wei? The other deans were stunned for a moment before they finally reacted. Moreover, that should be the Berserker realm. The dean of Miaoshan College was obviously the most excited. Then, he looked at Lin Ling and sneered. Lin Ling would not lose this time. Berserker realm. At this moment, Lin Ling was also being attacked by that power. He felt that a part of his strength was sealed, and this seal was still increasing. This feeling was similar to when Sister Zhan sealed his strength. However, Lin Ling also had the Berserker realm. As long as Lin Ling activated the Berserker realm, the effect of the seal would immediately disappear. Such a godly fetus is amazing. While Lin Ling was shocked by the 7th prince's strength, a voice suddenly came from the side. Lin Ling turned around and saw that it was the giant ghost. The giant ghost and Lin Ling had not seen each other for a year. Because Lin Ling had climbed the sea god stairs, the giant ghost did not follow him. Instead, it stayed in snow-blowing city with the golden-white evil spirit. You know this kind of talent? Lin Ling was happy to see the giant ghost appear. He then smiled. Of course, this godly fetus comes from the golden palace of Haotian, the supreme nature mystic true Jade Emperor. The giant ghost stared ahead and said fiercely, "What a long name." Lin Ling was shocked. In short, it's the Jade Emperor. The giant ghost said again. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. The Jade Emperor? Of course he had heard of it. It had appeared many times in the myths of Huaxia. He never expected that the seventh prince's godly fetus bloodline came from the Jade Emperor. No wonder he could become a trial taker. However, Lin Ling still had a feeling that the seventh prince's godly fetus was not as good as Lei Gong's trial taker, Xueqi. After all, Xueqi's godly fetus came from the Eastern Emperor Tai, who was even more ancient. He was an ancient god. However, he has not cultivated it to perfection. Although he has unleashed the aura of the godly fetus, he has a weakness. At this time, the giant ghost said again. What weakness? Lin Ling was suddenly curious. Although he was confident that he could defeat the seventh prince, he was also curious about the seventh prince's weakness. The dragon root, the point where all the true emperor's dragon chi condenses. The giant ghost explained. Then, seeing Lin Ling's confusion, it continued, it's between his legs. If he is attacked, I'm afraid his strength will be halved. Hearing this, Lin Ling's jaw dropped. Having the seventh prince's strength would be halved just like that? He suddenly could not bear it. After all, the seventh prince was not an ordinary person. He was a trial taker. If he were to cripple him, the god behind the seventh prince would definitely be furious. Moreover, between the legs, that was the most important part of a man. If it was destroyed, even God would lose face. After all, God had the means to restore it. However, people would also say that it was a counterfeit, a fake root. Lin Ling, I want you dead. At this time, the seventh prince had already rushed towards Lin Ling with a terrifying aura. Lin Ling, how are you going to fight? Seeing the seventh prince's terrifying aura, the people from the various academies sneered, looking forward to seeing Lin Ling's miserable state. Chapter 4080. Crippled. Oh no! The old woman immediately shouted and wanted to help. She was Lin Ling's guardian. She definitely couldn't let anything happen to Lin Ling in front of her. However, at this moment, Lin Ling, who was in the sky, suddenly shouted, "Don't think that you're the only one who has reached the Berserker realm." After he finished speaking, his lightning-lock physique burst out. Lightning bolts swept across the sky like sea urchins. Electric snakes danced in the sky. Those who were weaker were directly electrocuted. Boom! Boom! The two of them hadn't even gotten close yet, but the two types of divine might were already clashing, tearing apart the sky. Moreover, they were both at the super berserk realm, becoming more and more berserk as they fought. Looking from the ground, it was simply like two gods were fighting. Lin Ling is also in the berserker stage. The dean of Miaoshan College stared at Lin Ling. His pupils constricted as he swallowed his saliva with great difficulty. When he looked at the seventh prince again, he was a little dumbfounded. This was because he could sense that his divine might had been completely blocked by Lin Ling. Moreover, there was a violent backlash of lightning. Kill me! At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes were cold. After releasing his divine might, he did not plan to hold back anymore. If the seventh prince wanted to kill him, Lin Ling would have no choice but to cripple his dragon root. Even if the god behind the seventh prince was enraged, Lin Ling wasn't afraid. Under countless gazes, the two figures approached each other from afar and collided violently. The Tyrant Song Sword and the True Inheritance Dark Sword appeared in Lin Ling's hands. He unleashed all of his power of divinity. Around his body, endless lightning bolts roared like sea urchins, blocking all of the seventh prince's divine might. This also meant that the following clash between the two of them would be a clash of strength. The two swords whistled through the air like two dragons from the gods. Die! At this moment, the seventh prince could no longer retreat, so he did not have the time to be surprised, and activated it with all his might. Rumble! 9 dragons soared into the sky, and the phantom of an ancient god monarch appeared. This god monarch was tall and mighty, and he wore a dark robe with 9 dragons. He wore green moon boots made of silk and a purple crystal crown on his head. He looked down on the world. This was especially true for his neck, where boundless light of sovereign qi gushed out from his square collar. Looking at the God Emperor, countless people felt suffocated. They could only sense a strong divine might coming at them. The ancient emperor of the era of gods. Adine spoke solemnly. And just as Lin Ling's two swords arrived, an imperial decree suddenly fell from the sky, bringing with it endless purple energy that wrapped around Lin Ling, sealing him within. Lin Ling is no match for him. Some people's eyes trembled. In the eyes of the crowd, it was as if they were witnessing the vicissitudes of life, the mythical monarch horoscope. Swoosh. However, at this moment, the huge imperial decree suddenly swayed, and then a blinding light shot out. A hole appeared in the center of the imperial decree, and it grew bigger and bigger. Under the shocked gaze of the entire city, the imperial decree was finally torn apart. The two swords were like dragons, and they attacked the seventh prince again. The seventh prince's eyes narrowed. He had already activated his talent, realm essence, and divine power to the limit, but he still could not block Lin Ling's two swords. From this perspective, Lin Ling's overall strength was above his. Go! Go! The seventh prince roared, and controlled the 9 dragons to block the two swords. Seeing this, Lin Ling's expression did not change. Like a flying immortal, red and yellow light bloomed on the two swords. He had already channeled the divine power of the Bodhi Testimony divine technique into the two swords. The two swords immediately buzzed, and slapped out, one left and one right. The 9 dragons were slapped away, and there was a roar as if they were about to collapse. Next, the 2 shooting stars finally appeared in front of the 7th prince. However, the swords that were originally pointed at the 7th prince's chest suddenly flicked downwards. Puchi! Blood spurted out. The 7th prince was immediately stunned in the sky. He sensed that his world essence, talent, and divine power were all flowing away like water. He couldn't help but lower his head to look, and found 2 swords hanging between his legs. Ah! Ah! The 7th prince howled in pain, and he fell from the sky like a kite with a broken string. When he hit the ground, he rolled on the ground while holding his legs. He looked extremely miserable. The entire city was silent. Everyone saw that the 7th prince had lost, and Lin Ling had crippled his manhood. As for the 7th Emperor Alliance, the crown princes' faces were extremely pale. Their leaders' balls had been crushed. However, when they saw the 7th prince's pained expression, the crown princes could not hold it in any longer. After all, they had the mandate of heaven and earth. Lin Ling had defeated the 7th prince, but he had crippled the 7th prince's manhood. This was a great humiliation to the 7th Emperor Alliance. Lin Ling, how dare you? The 7th prince is a trial taker. How dare you cripple his manhood? You're dead. One of the crown princes shouted angrily. What a joke. He's a trial taker? He wanted to kill me. I'm already being lenient by crippling his manhood. Even if a god is here, I'm still in the right. In the sky, Lin Ling put away his sword and smiled coldly. However, the 7th prince is a trial taker, but you guys aren't. If you keep talking nonsense, don't blame me for attacking. The 7th Emperor Alliance's members did not dare to speak. Although they were sovereigns, Lin Ling was a god. They could not afford to offend him. Take the 7th prince away from Blizzard City. Also, tell him that he provoked me first. He can't blame me for crippling his manhood. If he dares to offend me again, I'll cripple his balls. Lin Ling said again. His voice was filled with authority. Cripple his balls again? The 7th Emperor Alliance's members felt a chill run down their legs. They did not dare to speak anymore. They hurriedly helped the 7th prince up and fled into the sky. The 7th prince was trembling all over. He glared at Lin Ling with hatred. Because he knew that Lin Ling had crippled his manhood, but he had also crippled half of his strength. This enmity was absolutely irreconcilable. He also knew that from now on, his reputation as a trial taker had hit rock bottom. He was afraid that when he returned to the god's side, the other trial takers would look at him with discrimination. Scram! Lin Ling stared at the 7th prince and sneered. He naturally knew that the 7th prince wanted to kill him. However, he also knew that if he killed a trial taker in front of so many people, the god behind the 7th prince would definitely come knocking on his door. At that time, he would only bring trouble to Lei Gong. This made Lin Ling sigh inwardly. Although he was incomparably powerful, he was still much weaker in the world of the four great gods. I think the divine Tao competition should be over by now. Then, Lin Ling floated down from the sky and looked at the deans indifferently. The deans' expressions became complicated. Some were gnashing their teeth, some were helpless, some were sighing, and some were angry. It was as if all the emotions in life were written on their faces. It's over. Chapter 4081. Grandpa Tang. The Divine Tao competition of the Academy ended just like that. Moreover, it was messed up by the host, Lin Ling, making the people of the final world remember the Snow Wind Academy. I knew that after that guy came back, he would definitely abuse people. We know that he's abusing people, but there's nothing we can do. Who asked him to be a student of the Snow Wind Academy? Moreover, his cultivation time is so short. Most importantly, I'm afraid that his strength is stronger than ours. The various city lords also began to leave and whisper to each other. Previously, Lin Ling's battle with the seventh prince was so fierce that it was as if the sky was falling and the earth was rending. This let them know the height of Lin Ling in the final world. Perhaps only those who have a relationship with the gods are qualified to fight with Lin Ling. And Lin Ling did not pay attention to the people of the other academies. Instead, he smiled and walked towards the Snow Wind Academy. Lin Ling. Amazing. The two deans were undoubtedly very excited. The dean even gave Lin Ling a thumbs up. Hee, I was just lucky. Lin Ling immediately said politely. Looking at his calm appearance, it was completely different from the wild and domineering attitude he had during the battle. Lin Ling. Subsequently, many people from the Snow Wind Academy rushed over. Lin Ling's former teacher, Cai Luan, and the people of his class all surrounded Lin Ling. They were all laughing and recalling the days when Lin Ling was in the first God Hall. At that time, Lin Ling was a special case in the Snow Wind Academy. He often did not come to the academy. Occasionally, he would appear and bring a reign of terror. However, a special case was indeed a special case. Lin Ling was also the fastest martial artist in the history of the Snow Wind Academy to advance to the third God Hall. And while everyone was working hard for the third God Hall, Lin Ling had already become the heavenly voice of God. His strength had even surpassed the various city lords. If such a legendary figure did not appear in front of them, they would definitely think that they were dreaming. Second brother. At this time, Sakura and the others also rushed over. Great leader. Many of them were leaders of the God Slayer Alliance. Next, Song Chiri and the old woman also walked over. Xiao Yu, Savage Sword, and the others all walked over. Then, the whole city burst into cheers because everyone knew that Lin Ling's heavenly voice of God had made Snow-Blowing City proud. Looking at the city lords and deans, they shook their heads and left helplessly. That night, Lin Ling also celebrated with everyone. Looking at the joyous surroundings, Lin Ling sighed inwardly. Thinking back on his life, he could be considered to have walked a colorful path. And now, he had finally reached the world of gods. Thinking about it, reaching the peak of martial arts was not far away. Brother Ling, what are you thinking about? Seeing Lin Ling in a daze while holding the wine glass, Yu suddenly noticed something and pulled Lin Ling's arm. Nothing. Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. I know Brother Ling is thinking about the past. Yu was worthy of being Lin Ling's childhood sweetheart. She had guessed Lin Ling's thoughts. Lin Ling suddenly nodded and sighed. Sometimes when I think back, all of this is like a dream. Sometimes I even remember the days when I was in Gu Yen's sect. At that time, we were looking forward to the future and were full of curiosity about the outside world. But I didn't expect that the former young man of Gu Yen's sect has reached such heights today. Yes, the former young man who chased after his dreams is now a god. Yu smiled and nodded. Moreover, I accompanied the young man to witness all of this. I am very proud and I feel a sense of accomplishment. Thank you. Lin Ling said gratefully. It won't be long before I, Lin Ling, also set foot on the peak of the gods. At that time, my goal will be over. Brother Ling, I believe that you can definitely do it. Yu quietly held Lin Ling's hand and did not speak anymore. But her action also represented everything. She would always accompany Lin Ling until Lin Ling reached the peak of the gods. Lin Ling, and Yuer, Shen Yuan Go and the others also came over and quietly accompanied Lin Ling. The vast hall was bustling with noise. However, the people quietly noticed the situation on Linling's side. They all smiled gently and pretended not to see it, because they also knew that Linling had disappeared for 10 years. The last time he came back was just a hurried visit. Now that he was back naturally, he wanted to accompany his family. Senior sister, I didn't expect that the rising star in the past has become a god above us today. Xueqi and the old woman clinked their glasses of wine and sighed with relief. Linling had become a god, and as guardians, they were obviously very proud of him. They had also completed their mission. They could also foresee that in the future, Linling would also be an indispensable existence in Lei Gong's hall. Linling, get out here. At this moment, a roar resounded through the entire sky. Then, Snow City started to shake. This shocked everyone. They immediately rushed out and looked at the sky. An old man had appeared in the sky. He had his hands behind his back and was looking at the earth majestically. Judging from his appearance, he seemed to be in a rage. Linling also led the people out of the hall and looked up at the old man in the sky. Linling did not know this person, but Linling could sense that this person was not weak. Not only was he at the late stage of the martial god realm, but he also had a divine fetus. A divine fetus was an extremely rare existence in the final world. This old man who had come at random had a divine fetus. This old man was definitely not simple. Linling estimated that this old man's strength was not much weaker than that of the top 10 martial gods in Jojo. Who are you? Although Linling was shocked by the old man's strength, he was not afraid of him. He had a life-saving trump card. If he used it with all his strength, he would still have a chance to kill this old man. The price he would have to pay was to waste 2 life-saving trump cards. Grand Duke Tang. The old man's eyes were red as he looked at Linling and shouted, "Rumble!" This loud shout caused the earth to split open. Looking up into the sky again, a huge black seal was floating there, exuding an extremely crazy divine might. The super crazy realm. Linling was instantly sure that this person was from the 4 great gods. Among the 4 great gods, the people of the Kurishin and Lei Gong did not dare to be so rude. Therefore, Linling was sure that this person was from the other 2 great gods. This is the heaven-flipping seal, my divine fetus. If I seal it, all of your heads will explode. Grand Duke Tang said majestically. He was using his powerful strength to intimidate Linling and make Linling submit. What are you doing here? However, Linling's expression was normal as he spoke indifferently. I'm here for the 7th prince. Grand Duke Tang looked coldly at Linling and stated his purpose. Everyone in the city suddenly understood. Chapter 4082. The God of Treasures had arrived. Then what do you want to do? Linling also came to a realization, but he was still not afraid. He was Lei Gong's man, so he did not believe that Grandfather Tang would dare to touch him. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Grandfather Tang laughed out loud. His laughter was incomparably arrogant, as if he had Linling in his grasp. I know what you're thinking. You think that because you're a trial taker, I don't dare to kill you, right? Then, Grandfather Tang said sarcastically. That's right. Linling nodded. Hee, you're too naive. Although I don't dare to touch you, I can fight you and then cripple your balls. Grand Duke Tang sneered sinisterly and stated his goal in front of everyone. From the looks of it, he was simply unscrupulous. It was also because he was indeed not afraid of Linling. Although he could not kill him, he could cripple Linling. Linling had the guts to cripple the 7th prince. One had to know that he was the 7th prince's guardian and also a god's man. Not long ago, he saw the 7th prince return covered in blood. At that time, he was scared out of his wits. When he saw that the 7th prince's dragon root had been crippled, his heart ached even more. Therefore, when he found out that the murderer was Linling, he was furious. He wanted to return the favor. Ask the guardian behind you to come out. I'll cripple him too. With that thought in mind, Grandfather Tang said domineeringly. Snow-blowing city was completely silent. Everyone knew that this old man's background was not simple. He was also a follower of a god. They could not help but look at Linling. Although Linling was very strong, anyone could see that he was no match for the old man. If the old man made a move, then Linling might also be crippled. Ask your friend to come out. I'll cripple him too. Seeing that no one spoke, Grandfather Tang shouted again. His attitude could be said to be incomparably domineering. Looking at Lin Ling again, he was silent, but he had already prepared his trump card. He wanted to see who would cripple who in a head-on clash. You don't dare to speak? Ask your grandfather to come out. I'll cripple him too. Seeing Lin Ling's silence, Grandfather Tang became even more insufferably arrogant. He seemed to be venting the anger in his heart. Who's next? Next, he walked towards the ground. Step by step the earth. The sky-flipping seal in the sky exuded a terrifying divine power and sealed off the entire Snow City. The cyclic sky seal was a great treasure from the era of gods, and it had been refined by him into a talent. Although the price was to give up his original talent, after obtaining a divine treasure like the cyclic sky seal, he was still quite important in the world of gods. He even thought of himself as a god. My battle with the seventh prince was a fair one. You forced me to fight and even wanted to cripple me. Aren't you afraid of Lei Gong's anger? Lin Ling could not let the people of Snow City be implicated, so he also walked out. Ha ha ha, Lei Gong is not so petty. This is a matter between the trial takers. Let the trial takers settle it themselves. Unfortunately, Grandfather Tang was still unscrupulous. The sneer on his face deepened. I'll let you see my flipping sky seal. Let me tell you, this is a second-grade divine fetus. He grabbed out with his big hand. In the sky, divine power was vast and mighty, suppressing the entire city. Lin Ling also immediately erupted with divine power. He was in the berserk realm. Thunder immediately spread out in the sky as if thunderclouds were descending. Moreover, he also activated the flame of the human monarch and other means. Between his hands, he had two trump cards, one offensive and one defensive. However, just as he was about to use his trump card to repel his opponent, in the distance, a fierce roar suddenly came. I'll do it! In the distant sky, a meteor shot over quickly. It seemed to split the sky, and the scene of an endless void appeared. This also gave people the illusion that this person had forcibly rushed into the final world from the void. One had to know that the final world had a protective barrier. Other than the border cities, ordinary people could not force their way in. You'll do it? What are you worth? I'll even cripple you. What I'm most afraid of is that you don't have balls. Grandfather Tang let out a shrill voice. He was even crazier. He wanted to see who would dare to stop him. Moreover, he wanted to cripple that person and let everyone know what the consequences of crippling one's balls were. Obviously, he was also killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Flipping sky seal. Grandfather Tang roared and controlled the flipping sky seal to smash at the person behind him. The huge flipping sky seal, which was filled with boundless divine power, smashed out cleanly. Lin Ling, do you think anyone can save you? Let me tell you, I'm a god. Then, Grandfather Tang said coldly to Lin Ling without even looking behind him. However, he did not see that the huge flipping sky seal behind him had already been lifted by one hand. The most terrifying thing was that after resisting the flipping sky seal, the person did not slow down and continued to roar. This time, countless people in Snow City opened their mouths wide. This person was too awe-inspiring. Even Lin Ling's pupils constricted because he did not know who it was. He did not even think that someone would come to help him. However, when the person came closer, he realized that it was also an old man. However, Lin Ling was very familiar with this old man. Because this was treasure god Nan Wufengyu. Lin Ling was very surprised by the sudden appearance of treasure god Nan Wufengyu. However, treasure god Nan Wufengyu was holding the flipping sky seal and looking at Lin Ling in surprise. His beard was blown up. Then, his eyes suddenly moistened and tears flowed down silently. Lin Ling was stunned for a moment and became confused. Although he had not seen treasure god Nan Wufengyu for a long time, treasure god Nan Wufengyu should not cry. Grandpa! In the crowd, Xiaoyu also shouted in surprise. However, she could also see that her grandpa seemed to be a little different. This was because her grandpa had always treated big brother Lin Ling very seriously, but this time, he actually cried? Old friend. After treasure god Nan Wufengyu shed tears, he stared at the lightning around Lin Ling and shouted, Old friend. Lin Ling was even more shocked. Although he knew treasure god Nan Wufengyu, they were not old friends. I've been looking for you for many years. Treasure god Nan Wufengyu said again. Seeing this, Lin Ling finally shook his head because he also felt that the old friend that treasure god Nan Wufengyu was talking about was not him. However, why was treasure god Nan Wufengyu staring at him and crying? That's enough. At this moment, an untimely shriek interrupted treasure god Nan Wufengyu. Of course, that person was Grand Duke Tang. He was so angry that his face was trembling. This was because an old man suddenly came and cried in front of him, completely ignoring him. Is this old man's eyesight failing him? Was he treating him like a vase? Damn old man, how dare you ruin my plans? I'm going to break your balls. Chapter 4083. He had no balls. Lin Ling smiled, knowing that Grand Duke Tang was about to suffer. In the past, Nan Wufengyu had fought against Wentian martial god and seriously injured him. Lin Ling later found out that this was because Nan Wufengyu was already injured. Otherwise, Wentian martial god would have been dead long ago. Now, Grand Duke Tang dared to provoke Nan Wufengyu? He was definitely plucking the fur from a tiger's mouth. You said you want to cripple my balls? Nan Wufengyu said coldly. That's right, the balls between your legs. Grand Duke Tang was afraid that Nan Wufengyu didn't know what balls were, so he pointed at them. It's been a long time since someone tried to hit my balls. Since you want to cripple me, I'll cripple you. Nan Wufengyu didn't have time to care who Grand Duke Tang was. He turned and walked toward him, still holding the cyclic sky seal in his hand. If Grand Duke Tang was more attentive, he would have noticed that Nan Wufengyu could easily control the cyclic sky seal. This person's strength was not as simple as he imagined. But now, he was so angry that he forgot everything. Not only do I want to hit your balls, I want to do it in front of everyone. Grand Duke Tang shouted angrily. Seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head and turned to leave. He knew that the battle would be one-sided. And that was the truth. Grand Duke Tang was angry. However, Nan Wufengyu was even angrier. He had just found his close friend's legacy and met his granddaughter, but someone had interrupted him. He wanted to cripple his balls. I'll cripple you. He held the cyclic sky seal and smashed it at Grand Duke Tang. Grand Duke Tang finally reacted. His eyes widened. His cyclic sky seal had been held by that stupid old man all this time? He immediately shouted, "Return! Return!" However, the cyclic sky seal seemed to have lost contact with him and was no longer under his control. How is this possible? Grandfather Tang let out a loud roar. The cyclic sky seal was his innate talent. Now, his innate talent was being controlled by someone else? As far as he knew, there had never been anyone who possessed such terrifying strength, unless that person was a god. However, he had seen all of the 4 great gods, and he had never seen this old man who was crying like an idiot. Bang! The flipping sky seal came crashing down. From the looks of it, it was even stronger than when Grand Duke Tang controlled it. Grandpa Tang was smashed into the ground as if he had been planted with a carrot. However, the flipping sky seal did not stop smashing down. It continued to smash at Grand Duke Tang's head, causing him to be covered in dirt and constantly vomiting blood. Looking at his entire body, he had been smashed so hard that only his head was left on the ground. He looked at treasure god Nan Wufengyu in shock. How could this idiotic old man be so powerful? If you want to cripple my balls, then I'll cripple yours. At this time, Nan Wufengyu appeared in front of Grand Duke Tang. He stomped his foot, causing the ground to explode and intimidate Grand Duke Tang once more. Nan Wufengyu reached out and grabbed between Grandpa Tang's legs. This time, the people of Snow City laughed. How arrogant was Grandpa Tang before? He had threatened to cripple everyone's balls, but now, he was going to be crippled. No! Grand Duke Tang immediately shouted when he saw this. His voice was incomparably anxious. However, he was controlled by treasure god Nan Wufengyu's power. An invisible wind sealed his entire body, making him unable to even move a finger. He could only watch as treasure god Nan Wufengyu crippled him. But soon, treasure god Nan Wufengyu let out a cry of surprise. This was because he had grabbed empty air. Could it be that you don't have balls? Treasure god Nan Wufengyu asked suspiciously. His tone caused Grand Duke Tang's face to turn red. The crowd was naturally in an uproar. Even Lin Ling rubbed his chin and suddenly said, "Could it be that he's a eunuch? But it looks very likely because he's protecting the 7th prince." The The seventh prince is the son of heaven. The person protecting the son of heaven is naturally a eunuch. What's a eunuch? Yu and the others immediately asked curiously. It's a person without balls. Lin Ling said with a grin, in layman's terms, he's not a man. Waha, so that old man isn't a man. No wonder he said that he would cripple someone's balls. He was jealous. When the crowd heard Lin Ling's words, they could not help but laugh. Now that the seventh prince doesn't have balls, isn't he also a eunuch? Someone else spoke. There was no doubt that the laughter of Snow City had reached the horizon. In the distant sky, a pale-faced young man was stunned. The veins on his forehead were bulging. And he was naturally the seventh prince. He hid in the distance because he wanted to see Lin Ling's tragic end. However, an old man suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He was ridiculously powerful. Not only did he defeat Grand Duke Tang, he even wanted to cripple him. Now he, the seventh prince, had also lost face. It would not be long before people would think that he, the seventh prince, was an androgynous figure like Grand Duke Tang. Androgynous thing. Bah, you've dirted my hands. Get lost. Nan Wufengyu spat and slapped Grand Duke Tang's white and tender face a dozen times. Then, he swung his hand and threw Grand Duke Tang away. My cyclic sky seal. Grand Duke Tang rolled on the ground like a gourd. When he stopped, he angrily looked at Nan Wufengyu. Because Nan Wufengyu had taken his cyclic sky seal. If you don't get lost, then don't blame me for killing you. Nan Wufengyu clearly had no intention of returning the treasure. His eyes began to show killing intent. Don't think that I won't dare to touch you just because you have Xueqi behind you. He could also see the origin of this person. Grand Duke Tang suddenly gritted his teeth. However, he knew that if he did not leave, the other party would do something to him, so he could only leave with his tail between his legs. Eunuch! Ha ha ha! Seeing Grand Duke Tang run away in fear, Snow City also burst into laughter. Lin Ling, this cyclic sky seal is for you. Nan Wufengyu immediately walked towards Lin Ling and said excitedly, This. Lin Ling immediately felt embarrassed. This was because Nan Wufengyu had helped him drive Grand Duke Tang away. Now that Nan Wufengyu had given him such a precious treasure, he naturally felt bad. Take it. However, Nan Wufengyu's gaze towards Lin Ling was no longer as dignified as before. Instead, it was more amiable. Lin Ling had no choice but to accept it. Then, he glanced at Yu and the others and finally gave this treasure to Shen Yuan-Go-Er. After all, Yu had the dragon god innate talent, and Yuer had the divine fetus, and Shen Yuan-Go-Er was the weakest. Now that he had the cyclic sky seal, he only needed to refine it and Shen Yuan-Go-Er would become a god in one step. In a few days, I'll refine this treasure for her. Chapter 4084. The Netherworld Mirror lit up. Thank you, Grandpa. Shen Yuan-Go-Er said gratefully. Grandpa. At this time, Xiaoyu rushed out and hugged Nan Wufengyu's leg, her eyes wet. Xiaoyu. Treasure god Nan Wufengyu also hugged Xiaoyu and gave her a fierce kiss on the cheek before sizing her up. Xiaoyu had matured a lot since then and was no longer a little girl. She could be called a girl now. After all, Nan Wufengyu had left Xiaoyu for quite some time. However, Xiaoyu's body seemed to be very special, so her growth was slower than others. Let's talk inside. Lin Ling looked around, knowing that there were many people here, so he led Lin Ling to the courtyard. After entering the courtyard, everyone sat down. Lin Ling immediately poured a cup of wine for treasure god Nan Wufengyu, then looked at him with a smile. The people who could appear in the courtyard were all Lin Ling's own people, and treasure god Nan Wufengyu had clearly noticed this. He also knew that Lin Ling wanted to ask him something. Therefore, he did not hide anything and told them about his relationship with the Luai's god. This shocked Lin Ling. No wonder Nan Wufengyu looked at him differently. It was because of his Luai's physique. This Luai's god was just as Lei Gong said, loyal and righteous. He had many friends in the world of gods, and even Nan Wufengyu was one of them. Lin Ling also told him about his background. You went to Lei Gong's place? Not bad at all. I wanted to teach you some theology, but it seems like there's no need. Among the gods, Lei Gong is the best at controlling lightning. Nan Wufengyu immediately felt happy for Lin Ling, then said, Thank you for taking care of Xiaoyu for me all these years. Seeing Xiaoyu grow up safely, I, Nanwu Fengyu, owe you a favor." After he finished speaking, he walked out and bowed deeply to Lin Ling. Back then, Lin Ling had promised him that if anyone dared to touch Xiaoyu, they would have to do it over Lin Ling's dead body. And Lin Ling had kept his word. Lin Ling's expression changed after seeing treasure god Nanwu Fengyu bow. He quickly helped the old man up. "We're a family now, no need to be so calculative." "Haha, what a family. I didn't think that after the fall of the gods, I, treasure god Nanwu Fengyu, would have so many more relatives besides little you." "Good, Lin Ling. I'll recognize you as my relative." Nanwu Fengyu laughed after hearing Lin Ling, but his eyes were a bit moist. First, Lin Ling had inherited his old friend's legacy. To him, Lin Ling was his old friend's descendant. 2. For so many years, Nanwu Fengyu treasure god didn't have any friends because he knew that gods couldn't have friends. No matter how close they were, they would eventually die of old age and leave him. He didn't like the feeling of being separated by life and death, so he didn't make any friends. However, Lin Ling was qualified because Lin Ling was also a god. "From now on, my home will also be your home," Lin Ling emotionally said. "I'll be counting on you from now on." Treasure god Nanwu Fengyu nodded and smiled. Yu Yu's group was very happy to see their enthusiastic conversation. Everyone began to drink noisily until it was late at night. On the second day, Lin Ling also brought his grandpa and the others over. He was the heavenly voice of the god, so it wasn't hard for him to bring the extreme flame ancestor and the others to the final world. After the people from Qing province arrived, Lin Ling's courtyard became even livelier. Not only did his grandpa, mother, and all his wives live in his courtyard, but it also had his master, disciples, and all his friends from Qing province. During this time, Lin Ling didn't go anywhere and spent every day with his friends and family. After experiencing the matter between Lei Gong and treasure god Nanwu Fengyu, he knew that days like this were extremely rare. Of course, Lin Ling didn't stop cultivating. He also began to refine the divine essence of the god's inheritance treasure. After all, Lin Ling hadn't been eliminated by the gods after entering the god's world because of the god's inheritance treasure. After reaching the second level of the martial god realm, more divine essences appeared, and they were all of the fire attribute. After a period of comprehension and refinement, Lin Ling's human monarch's flame transformed again, giving him an additional trace of the human monarch's aura. The divine ability he created had also reached the second level, the Great Earth Flame. This flame had given birth to 10 strands of divine power. With the power to sweep through the earth, it burned everything. Everything that was burned was assimilated and controlled by Lin Ling. Currently, Lin Ling had 16 strands of divine power. Divine power, this was the power of the gods. It could bring the dead back to life and reverse the universe. The more divine power one had, the stronger one's strength would be. Lin Ling sighed inwardly. The god's inheritance treasure was really amazing. It had sped up his cultivation by a lot. Then, as spring passed and autumn came, Lin Ling stayed in Snow-Blowing City. Grandpa! Lin Ling and his wife also stayed in Snow-Blowing City. Lin Ling's granddaughter often pestered Lin Ling. The little girl from back then had now become a girl in her teens. She had grown faster than Xiaoyu. Looking at his slim and graceful granddaughter, Lin Ling naturally doted on her. Of course, at the same time, he sighed inwardly. It was as if he had aged a lot. He waited quietly like this. Finally, one day, the netherworld mirror was completely lit up. Lin Ling had been waiting for the netherworld mirror. After seeing the mirror lit up, he couldn't help but smile excitedly. The door to the netherworld realm was open. The people from the rainforest sacred land were coming back. Familiar faces, friends who had grown up with Lin Ling, appeared in Lin Ling's mind. Lord Xueqi, immortal, came. Great Demon King of the East. His former disciple, martial god Yungu, sword immortal Tsong Tian, Dark Dragon Emperor. The former 7 emperors of the rainforest sacred land. The former second prince of the Heaven Mystics Kingdom. The former Gu Yen sect. Bringing back those old friends was Lin Ling's lifelong wish. Grandpa! Then, Lin Ling strode out of the room and came to the courtyard excitedly. He shouted to everyone. Have we waited? Ancestor Tai Yan and the others were all there. They were very excited. They all knew that the people from the rainforest sacred land were coming back. So they had been waiting. Today, they had finally waited. They couldn't be compared to Lin Ling. Lin Ling had more friends because Lin Ling had traveled to a wider place. However, they came from the rainforest's sacred land. The people there were their friends and their relatives. Chapter 4085. Resurrection. That's great. Uncle Xueqi is coming back. Dad, thank you. Dad. Lin Yi remembered Lord Xueqi, who had taught him martial arts when he was young. Then, he looked at Lin Ling excitedly. He knew that this was his father's ability. Linger. Dad. Ancestor Tai Yan and the others also looked at Lin Ling excitedly. They knew that this was the ability of the Lin family's son. To be able to resurrect the dead. Who could do it? Let's go and welcome them. Yes. Lin Ling nodded at them. Then, he led them in the direction indicated by the netherworld mirror. They were walking towards the void, and the journey was extremely long. Lin Ling kept looking at the netherworld mirror in his hand. There was netherworld chi rolling in it, indicating the direction. God is really omnipotent. Dad. At the same time, Lin Ling was secretly envious. If it were not for Lord Legong's help, Lin Ling would not have been able to ask the netherworld for help. In fact, he, Lin Ling, had not even been to the netherworld before. While Lin Ling and the others were rushing over, in the distant void, a large number of mysterious people appeared. They began to tear the void and opened an ancient door. Then, a black dragon and a black phoenix roared out. These were the netherworld beasts guarding the netherworld gate. Rumble! The huge bronze door slowly opened, as if opening the road between the netherworld and the human realm. The netherworld was the core of the 10,000 realms of hell. Some powerful martial artists who had committed many evil deeds would not be controlled by their realms after they died. Instead, they would go to the netherworld. That was because the dead martial artists were too powerful. The ghost realm in their realms could not control them, so they could only go to the netherworld. The netherworld was obviously more powerful and could easily control their souls. Where is this? Dad. Then, a soul slowly floated out of the bronze door. Pah! But soon, a pitch-black whip lashed out. It came from a mysterious figure riding a large black horse. The figure was completely pitch-black, as if it was formed from darkness. However, one could see that it was wearing majestic black armor. Moreover, when one looked through the armor, one could see that there was nothing inside the armor. It was extremely strange. After being lashed by the whip, the soul from before immediately trembled and no longer dared to speak carelessly. Over there, the mysterious figure on the horse made a sound. Beside the bronze door was a mirror the size of a millstone. In the mirror, all kinds of black clouds were tumbling. When the soul appeared in front of the mirror, a large number of portraits appeared in the mirror. These portraits were like white horses galloping through a crack, as if they were showing the soul's past and present lives. The last life's name was Li Xueqi, and she came from the Northern Territory's rainforest Holy Land. She died because of a great calamity, and in another 3,500 years, she could be reincarnated. That's right, it's you. You can now leave the netherworld and reconstruct your body. The cold voice sounded again. The mirror instantly blossomed with light, enveloping the soul. It broke the great Tao law of the void, allowing the soul to reconstruct a human body. This mirror was obviously extremely extraordinary, because it could break the great Tao law of the void. This explained everything. Moreover, there were 18 such mirrors in the netherworld. Who am I? The soul was enveloped by a strange power, but gradually, it began to transform into a human form. At this moment, its eyes were blank. I am Lord Xueqi. In the end, it seemed as if his memories had awakened, and his body shook. Didn't I die? Didn't I do hard labor in the netherworld? Why did I return here? He raised his head in disbelief and looked at the mysterious underworld night not far away. You are already a human, and I have no authority to control you. As for why you can reconstruct your body, I can only say that a great figure appeared to save you. The pitch-black underworld knight said indifferently, but his tone was no longer as cold as before. Everything was as he said. The soul from before had already transformed into a human, and it was beyond his jurisdiction. At this time, more and more souls floated out of the bronze gate. However, each soul was whipped once, and then they followed the rules and came in front of the mirror. The mirror also reflected their past and present lives. Sword Immortal Tsong Tian? Lord Xueqi stared at the scene reflected by the mirror, and his body shook. Martial God Yun Gu. Spiritual Master came. Heavens, these are all my acquaintances. Lord Xueqi seemed to be struck by lightning, and then he became extremely excited. Because to be able to see his dead friends, this was like a gift from God to him. The mysterious mirror emitted a dazzling radiance with a myriad of colors. The spirits in front of the mirror quietly condensed into human form. At the beginning, they were just like Lady Xueqi. Their faces were incomparably blank. However, when their memories returned, all of them were shocked. Where am I? Senior sister, why are you here? I am not dreaming, right? Dark Dragon Emperor? Voices rose and fell one after another. Everyone looked at each other and became excited. Because not only did they recover the memories of their previous lives, but they also remembered the memories of the underworld. Therefore, when they knew that they were dead, they worked hard in the underworld, waiting for the day of reincarnation. But now, they were all resurrected? With their many years of experience in the underworld, this was simply impossible. Lord Xueqi. Someone immediately looked at Lord Xueqi with an excited expression. He was Immortal Kame, a good friend of Li Xiaoyao in the Rainforest Holy Land, and also Lin Ling's good friend. Haha, Immortal Kame. Looking at him, Lord Xueqi also laughed. Sword Immortal Tsong Tian. Next, he also greeted his acquaintances one by one. I didn't expect that we would all be resurrected. How is this possible? People were still as if they had just woken up from a dream. However, the underworld knight in the distance was still muttering to himself, confirming the identities of these people. In the end, he closed the pitch-black book in his hand. Everyone is here. The remaining people have already reincarnated. Mission complete. Then, he led a large number of mysterious people towards the underworld gate. My lord, why? Lord Xueqi and the others hurriedly looked at the mysterious underworld knight and asked. I am sorry, I am not too sure about this matter. I only know that someone came forward to help you, and to be able to make the underworld god give you a way out, that person's reputation is definitely not small, said the mysterious underworld knight. After saying that, he disappeared into the underworld gate, and the underworld gate closed with a bang, and the surroundings returned to the appearance of the void. However, Lord Xueqi and the others were even more shocked. The underworld god net gave them a way out? In their hearts, the underworld god was an omnipotent existence, the ruler of death in the entire universe. A legendary figure of this level actually gave them a way out. Chapter 4086. Inner Demon Removed. Look ahead. At this moment, Kame's spiritual master shouted. A large number of figures appeared in front of them. When they saw Lord Watermist and the others floating in the void, they immediately sped up. The man in the lead had an excited smile on his face. That silhouette. That robe. That big sword. Even after thousands of years, they still remembered it. Lin Ling. Everyone's hearts exploded, and they all roared at the same time. Their voices caused the void to tremble a little. Could it be? Following that, an unbelievable thought arose in everyone's mind. Could it be that Lin Ling asked the underworld god to let them go? How could this be possible? After all, when the rainforest's sacred land was destroyed, Lin Ling had only just arrived in Qingzhou. Not to mention the gods, even the powerhouses in Qingzhou were enough to make Lin Ling anxious. But now, Lin Ling was qualified to make the gods give him face? It must be him. Lady Watermist suddenly smiled, and her eyes became moist. She had a feeling that it must be Lin Ling. Everyone nodded. They also had the same thought because Lin Ling had always been a legend in the rainforest. The kid from the Ancient Face sect has grown to such a level. The person from the Ancient Face sect said as if he was dreaming. Master. Sword Immortal Tsong Tian, Martial God Yungu, and the others knelt in the air. However, more and more people behind them also knelt. Whether they knew Lin Ling or not, they all looked at Lin Ling with admiration and gratitude. Everyone, you're back. In the distance, Lin Ling had finally arrived in front of everyone. He was naturally very excited. Back then, the rainforest was destroyed because of him, Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling knew that Lord Watermist and the others would not blame him, Lin Ling had always been a sentimental person. Therefore, This had become a demon in his heart. He had once swore that one day, he would definitely save all of them. And now, he had finally done it. Grandpa Taiyan. Yu. When Patriarch Extreme Flame and the others arrived, both sides rushed over and hugged each other. It was as if they were old comrades who had met again. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect to see you guys again in this lifetime. If you want me to die now, it will be worth it. What are you talking about? Today is a happy day. We've been waiting for you for a long time. Excited voices spread through the void. Everyone was laughing and crying at the same time. The reason for laughing was that they could see their best friends again. They were very happy. The reason for crying was that all of this was not easy to come by. It was like a dream. Father. Father. It wasn't just Lin Ling. Some of the families that had been destroyed by the calamity were also reunited. Looking at the happy people, Lin Ling also became more and more excited. He admitted that he had killed many people in his life and was not a good person. However, he had always been protective of his own people. Now that he could see the people around him reunited, not only was he excited, but he also felt a sense of pride. Sometimes, Lin Ling was like a scorpion that hid under a rock. Although it didn't actively provoke others, it had a strong sense of guarding its territory. If anyone dared to invade, the scorpion would attack. Even if it had to go against the whole world, it would not hesitate. If something in its territory was harmed, this ugly scorpion would do its best to help them. And being in the scorpion's territory was also a blessing. After his inner demon was removed, Lin Ling sensed that his soul force was also increasing rapidly. It was increasing at a faster rate than the Bodhi Testimony Divine Art. Lin Ling was stunned. However, he also knew that every person who removed their inner demon would have a great opportunity. Some people could reach the sky in a single step and step into a new world. Some people could break through several levels in a row, as if they had accumulated a great deal of strength. As for Lin Ling, his soul force was increasing. Lin Ling also sat down in the lotus position. A mysterious wind began to emanate from his body. Everyone immediately sensed this mysterious wind, but they all smiled. This was because when this wind blew over, they felt their bodies become incomparably bound. This was especially true for Mistress Watermist and the others. They all felt as if they had been reborn. They had just reconstructed their bodies and their strength had disappeared. However, their bodies were created by the underworld, so they had naturally surpassed many martial artists. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to survive in the void. Now, under the influence of Lin Ling's power, their strength was crazily increasing. God's light. The giant ghost noticed the changes in everyone and couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Amazing, this is the universal Grand Tao. Treasure God Nanwu Fengyu also spoke in a dignified manner. The Grand Tao was formless. Some people said that the Grand Tao was ethereal and impossible to find in one's lifetime. After all, if one could grasp the Grand Tao of the universe, then they would be able to create a universe and a world. However, others said that the Tao was actually right next to you. Even a wisp of wind or a grain of sand was still a part of the Grand Tao. It was just that ordinary people couldn't touch it. Even gods couldn't touch it. However, at certain times if one was lucky enough, they would be able to sense the ripples of the Grand Tao. Naturally, the benefits would be endless. At this moment, Treasure God Nanwu Fengyu noticed that the Grand Tao ripples emanating from Lin Ling's body were changing everyone. It was as if a god was giving a sermon. Sometimes, a very ordinary sentence would carry the truth of the heaven and earth. It could benefit people greatly and even allow them to gain enlightenment. Rumble. Sure enough, when the mysterious power on Lin Ling's body continued to emanate, rumbling sounds were heard in the void. Rolling spiritual qi rushed into people's bodies, allowing many people to break through to the next realm. Of course, this rare opportunity also disappeared very quickly. Gradually, the gentle wind around Lin Ling quietly disappeared. Lin Ling's eyes were still closed, but he could feel that his soul force had reached 35,000 steps, an increase of 7,000 steps. This was the largest increase in soul force that Lin Ling had ever experienced since he started cultivating. The increase in soul force naturally had many benefits. First, after the fusion of talents, all of them were easier to control, such as thunder and fire. Second, the power of the steps of wisdom to seal enemies had greatly increased, reaching 30% of the power of the steps of God. What a pure Grand Tao physique! However, at this moment, A chuckle suddenly resounded in the void. Next, ripples appeared in the void like the surface of water. Then, a huge mysterious white ship swam out of the ripples. This ship was extremely sacred. It had a huge sail that swayed in the wind. There were 2 large words on the sail. Spirit Nation. On the white ship, a large number of people stood there smiling. There were young and old, but they all looked very approachable. Grand Dao Physique, TSK, you can only come across it by chance. Chapter 4087. Spirit Nation. Indeed, this is a physique created by the gods and Huan Yu. It's the purest and most flawless. Moreover, from the looks of it, these great Dao physiques were born not long ago and have not been polluted by the world. They're very suitable for our Spirit Nation. Beside the old man, a woman in a white dress nodded and smiled. She looked extremely beautiful, but the way she looked at Lord Watermist and the others was a little different. It was as if she was looking at an object, not a person. Perhaps this is Huan Yu's reward for us. The old man stroked his beard and smiled satisfactorily. And looking at this group of people who suddenly appeared, Yu and the others immediately frowned. Although they did not know the background of this group of people, they did not like the way they spoke. Their tone was too calm, as if they were treating Lord Watermist and the others as objects. Even more shamelessly, Lord Watermist was Huan Yu's reward for them. This was shameless. Because everyone knew that Lord Watermist and the others could be resurrected because of Lin Ling. Great Dao Physique. Treasure God Nan Wufengyu said calmly. He naturally knew that these great Dao physiques were referring to Lord Watermist and the others. This was because Lord Watermist and the others had bodies created by the god of the underworld. In order to create their bodies, they had to go against Huan Yu's great Dao and resurrect the dead. Therefore, these physiques were perfect, like newborn babies. Spirit Nation? Treasure God Nan Wufengyu then stared at the white ship and narrowed his eyes. What's their background? At this moment, Lin Ling opened his eyes and looked at Treasure God Nan Wufengyu. A mysterious nation from the other side of the void. They appeared in Zhozhou 97,000 years ago. At that time, they took away countless people and then disappeared without a trace. However, because of this incident, Spirit Nation is also known as one of the Zhozhou 10 evils. After all, hundreds of billions of people were taken away back then. Treasure God Nan Wufengyu explained, then snorted coldly. But in my opinion, this so-called Spirit Nation is just a nation that pretends to be mysterious. What's the point of pretending to be holy? Zhozhou 10 evils. Lin Ling's eyes also focused. As he continued to grow stronger, he had come into contact with 9 of the current 9 states' 10 evils. They were the Creation Alliance, the Immortal Temple, the Tomb Guardian Clan, the Land of Eternal Slumber of Heroic Spirits, the Ancient Demon Clan, the Great Devil Sect, the Tin Ghost Clan, and the Serpent Clan. Each and every one of these ancient ferocious forces was an incomparably terrifying existence. However, the current Lin Ling was no longer the same as he was back then, and he dared to clash against the various vicious forces. However, this was the first time Lin Ling had seen the last great Spirit Nation. Of course, although Lin Ling was not afraid of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils, he knew that these evils that had survived for thousands of years did indeed have a strong foundation. Why don't you come with us? At this moment, the woman on the white boat said faintly. Their gazes were naturally directed at Lady Xue Wu and the others. Of course, the result was that Lady Xue Wu and the others shook their heads, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Seeing that Lady Xue Wu and the others had rejected her, the woman was not angry. She continued to smile and said, "The only way out is to join the Spirit Nation. A great calamity is coming, and the Supreme God is going to destroy the world. Everyone will not be able to escape death. However, you have the opportunity to be chosen by the Spirit Nation, so you can escape this calamity." Her voice was very pleasant to listen to and was very approachable. If it were someone else here, they would probably be tempted. Unfortunately, Lady Xue Wu and the others had just been resurrected, and they had deep feelings for each other, so they did not plan to follow the Spirit Nation. Bullshit! At this moment, Lin Ling could not help but shout. Because in his opinion, the Spirit Nation was like the world's will, constantly tempting others to join it. Sigh, mortals are all ignorant. The woman suddenly looked at Lin Ling, then sighed. Her words were filled with pity, as if she sympathized with Lin Ling's ignorance. A stream of light suddenly shot out, and in mid-air, a terrifying power erupted, causing the void to distort and spin. If one looked carefully, the woman in white had already attacked Lin Ling as she spoke, and her eyes were filled with sympathy. Seeing this, Lin Ling sneered. Full power. Talent fusion. Thunderlock physique, super berserk realm. Sea urchin lightning raged ahead. Lin Ling's palms were filled with the light of Bodhi. Rumble. The two meteors collided in midair, causing cracks to appear in space. But it didn't take long for a figure to be blasted away. It was that woman. Moreover, she slammed hard against the white boat, and then blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes were also looking at Lin Ling in shock. Because previously, she had roughly glanced around and saw that most of the people were ants. She never expected that there would be someone so strong among these ants. After all, Ancestor Tai Yen and the others had arrived. In addition, Lord Xue Wu and the others had been resurrected. Hence, there were many people, and she did not have the time to check them one by one. I think with your strength, you don't have the time to sympathize with others. Lin Ling said indifferently as he floated in the void. His words caused the woman's eyes to narrow. Previously, she had used her identity as the spiritual nation's empress to deliver people from torment. Lin Ling was the only one who had opposed her, which made her feel pity for Lin Ling's ignorance. However now, she could not even block one of Lin Ling's attacks. It was somewhat ironic to say that she sympathized with him. Ignorant! The woman immediately snorted coldly, and then a fierce realm essence burst out from her body. Her cultivation was at the late stage of the martial god realm. Moreover, her talent was extremely strange. It was like a ball of sacred light. She instantly disappeared on the spot, and it seemed like she was going to attack Lin Ling again. His speed instantly reached the speed of 6,000 realms. However, Lin Ling was not afraid of such speed. After his talent fusion, his speed had also reached 6,000 world speed. Bang! The void was crushed by Lin Ling's stomp, and he disappeared on the spot. In the next moment, he caught up with the woman. At the same time, white flames roared out from his fist. Flame of the Human King. Rumble. He threw out a punch, and the void was set ablaze. White flames incinerated the entire era. Puff. The woman obviously did not expect Lin Ling to have such speed, so she was hit in the chest by Lin Ling's punch. She spat out blood and was sent flying again. Boom. She smashed into the white boat. Looking at her chest, there was a patch of white there. Her clothes had been assimilated, and a pair of white breasts jumped out. The white flames were still burning, assimilating her. This scene stunned Lord Xue Wu and the others. Then they burst out laughing. They had seen the majestic white boat and thought that some deity had arrived. However, it turned out that the pure woman's clothes had been torn apart by Lin Ling. Ignorant! Then, they laughed louder and louder, returning the woman's pitiful attitude to him. The woman's eyes finally turned cold. With a wave of her right hand, a mysterious light appeared and extinguished the flame of the Human King. Lin Ling was secretly shocked. Your speed is very fast. Chapter 4088. Resurrection from the Dead. No matter how much Mistress Mist and the others mocked her, she felt that they were just a bunch of ignorant people trying to entertain themselves. However, her killing intent had landed on Lin Ling. She no longer had the pity from before. It's not that I'm fast, it's just that you're too slow. Lin Ling looked at her coldly. Without saying anything else, he activated the Steps of Wisdom. Currently, his soul power had greatly increased, so he wanted to test the power of this new Steps of Wisdom. Wang! In the void, a surge of power exploded, forming an invisible spiral of soul waves that enveloped the woman. Behind the woman, the faces of the people on the white ship changed greatly. This was because they also felt that a portion of their power had been sealed. Even they felt the same way. The woman even sensed that 50% of her power had been sealed. But only 50%? At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes were like torches as he stared at the woman. He continued to increase his soul power, causing the spiral of soul waves to become even more terrifying. Because Lin Ling's soul power had already reached level 30,000. He also wanted to know how powerful the Steps of Wisdom would be when he used all his power. Steps of God. On the white ship, the white-robed old man finally spoke solemnly. As for the woman, her eyes flashed with panic.
She finally realized that the young man in front of her was not an ordinary person.
Who are you? To have the power to threaten her life, the other party's background was definitely not simple. This was because the woman in white also felt that from 50% of her power at the beginning, 60%, 70%, 80%, and finally 90%. A pitiful person by you. Lin Ling let out a low roar. After using all of his soul power, he immediately disappeared from where he stood. How dare you? The woman felt Lin Ling's actions and shouted majestically. Because this unknown man actually dared to kill her? Rumble. Just as her voice fell, two huge swords broke through the air. These two swords, one of them was a demon with surging killing intent, the other was an immortal, elegant and formless. It was the tyrannical Song Sword and the true inheritance Dark Sword. At this moment, the swords contained all of Lin Ling's divine power. They crisscrossed and slashed with divine might. How dare you?
The old man on the white ship let out a furious roar. He leaped out of the white ship as though the heavens were enraged. His body also expanded in midair, and a white light soared into the sky from his body. Then, a palm that seemed to be able to destroy everything in its path slammed down on Lin Ling. Obviously, he had finally sensed Lin Ling's killing intent. Boom. However, before the huge palm could slam down, a skinny old man suddenly appeared under the palm. He raised his head and punched out. Boom. Boom. That punch seemed ordinary, but when it hit the void, it actually caused the giant white palm to crumble. What? At this moment, the white-robed old man was shocked. What day is it today? Why are all the people I met so strong? Is that all you've got? The skinny old man spoke with disdain because he was treasure god Nan Wufengyu. His words undoubtedly caused the white-clothed old man to fly into a rage out of humiliation. Whoosh! With treasure god Nan Wufengyu's obstruction, Lin Ling's two swords finally reached the white-clothed woman. The white-clothed woman trembled and turned to look at Lin Ling in disbelief. You're going to kill me? Behind the white-clothed woman, Lin Ling slowly sheathed his swords and said coldly, You wanted to kill me, so I can't let you go. Kill. Who are you? The white-clothed woman gritted her teeth. Divine voice of heaven. Lin Ling. Lin Ling looked up at her and said indifferently, You're Lin Ling? However, to Lin Ling's surprise, the white-clothed woman recognized him. Haha, very good. I was wondering who could be so powerful, but it's you, Lin Ling. But Lin Ling, don't be too proud. The Spirit Nation is the supreme divine nation. I won't die. It won't be long before we meet again. Let me tell you, the Genesis Alliance is in trouble. Boom. With that, the white-clothed woman's head fell off, but she still had a sinister sneer on her face. Then her body exploded. Lin Ling's pupils constricted as well. Go. The white-clothed old man was still floating on the white boat, and he roared at the people behind him. Whoosh! The boat raised its sails and swam into the void ripples. You want to leave? Treasure god Nan Wufengyu's eyes flashed coldly as he looked at the white-clothed old man and punched out. Wind and rain roared and swept toward the white-clothed old man. Looking at your strength, could it be that you're one of the four gods? The white-clothed old man's eyes narrowed, because he knew that he couldn't block a single move from his opponent. His opponent was too strong, 100 times stronger than him. Haha, for gods, your good days are coming to an end. However, to treasure god Nan Wufengyu's shock, the white-clothed old man showed no fear in the face of a god. Instead, he laughed boldly. Rumble! The wind and rain wreaked havoc on the white-clothed old man, destroying his flesh and clothes piece by piece. However, the white-clothed old man opened his arms as if he was enjoying it very much. Kill, it won't be long before I resurrect, and we'll meet again. Also, I forgot to tell you that in our spirit kingdom, as long as someone is killed by an enemy, it's a contribution to the kingdom. Therefore, when I resurrect, I'll be even stronger than now. As soon as he finished speaking, the white-robed old man completely disintegrated into the wind. The void became inexplicably silent. Everyone's expression turned solemn because these mysterious people could actually resurrect. This method was too heaven-defying. Even Lin Ling frowned. He was no longer a newbie who didn't know anything, so he naturally knew that the dead couldn't be resurrected. Generally, those who could come back from the dead were mostly clones or those who used the immortal fruit. However, these weren't deaths. For example, Lord Watermist and the others needed the permission of the underworld god to resurrect from the dead. However, Lin Ling had indeed sensed the death of the group of people from before. Could they be lying to us? Ancestor Taiyan walked over and asked worriedly. Lin Ling immediately shook his head because this was the first time he'd seen such a strange method. This spirit kingdom is very mysterious, but their method is a bit familiar, so I reckon that they can indeed resurrect. At this moment, the giant ghost beside Lin Ling said. Lin Ling's expression turned even more solemn. He's right. Although I don't know how they resurrected, I've heard that those who live in divine kingdoms can't die.
Chapter 4089. Translator. Nyoibo Studio Find the Creation Alliance.
The other side of the void?
What is this place? Lin Ling asked immediately.
The boundary of the void.
Treasure god Nanwu Fengyu explained. Very, very far away. Even gods would have a hard time reaching that place. As for martial artists, they would never be able to reach the border even if they flew for their entire lives. What is the purpose of this Lingua Mountain and Chongshui coming all the way here? Lin Ling frowned even more.
He felt that he had to inform Lord Lei Gong about this matter.
However, Lin Ling was still very worried about the Creation Alliance. This was because the woman in white knew that he was Lin Ling and had mentioned the Creation Alliance. Most likely, something had happened to the Creation Alliance. Let's go back first. After such a thing happened, Lin Ling didn't have time to catch up with everyone. He immediately led everyone to the final world. Along the way, Lin Ling bid farewell to everyone and asked Nanwu Fengyu to take care of everyone. He then opened the divinity ladder and left to meet Lord Lei Gong. In Lei Gong's main hall, Lei Gong already knew that Lin Ling was coming, so he had been waiting there for a long time. Beside him was Saint Gi and Big Sister Zhen. Lin Ling, what happened? After seeing Lin Ling enter, Lei Gong immediately asked. He knew that something that could make Lin Ling return so anxiously was definitely not a small matter. Lin Ling immediately bowed to Lei Gong and told him what he had seen. Spirit Kingdom? Hearing Lin Ling's words, Lei Gong's eyes immediately narrowed. It's just one of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils. What's so great about it? Lin Ling, aren't you making a mountain out of a molehill?
As a trial taker, such a small matter shouldn't alarm you. Big Sister Zhen suddenly laughed after hearing this.
Resurrecting from the dead and increasing their strength again after resurrection, such a method is too heaven-defying. I'm afraid that the Spirit Kingdom is not simple. Big Sister Zhen, Lin Ling reporting this to Lord Lei Gong is the right thing to do. However, Saint Gi shook his head.
Big Sister Zhen secretly gritted her teeth and fell silent.
Such a method is indeed sharp. Lei Gong's Big Sister Zhen sect evils His Majesty. He then smiled and looked at Lin Ling and said, Lin Ling, this Spirit Kingdom is indeed not simple. I believe Lin Ling big, but...
Back then the divine nation.
Divine kingdom. Divine kingdom is divine is. Hearing this, Lin Ling's heart froze.
Then, he pondered and said, Lord Thunder God, I reported the matter of the Spirit Kingdom because I have another guess.
What wrong guess? Lord Lei Gong asked curiously. My guess is that behind the Spirit Kingdom is the world's will. Lin Ling said word by word. Lei Gong's eyes narrowed. His gaze was like a torch. Lord Lei Gong, this is only my guess. I hope I'm wrong. After all, with the Spirit Kingdom's methods, it wouldn't be difficult for them to create chaos in the 9 states. But if they are the world's will, this matter will be very troublesome. Lin Ling said again after seeing Lei Gong fall silent. All right. I'll get someone to investigate this thoroughly. Lin Ling, you've reported this important news and completed a mission. What reward do you want? Lei Gong's face turned more serious as he looked at Lin Ling. This counts as completing a mission? On the side, Sister Zhen immediately became jealous, because in her opinion, this was simply something that was made out of nothing. However, she was only jealous in her heart. Naturally, she did not dare to say it out loud. I want to know the whereabouts of the Creation Alliance. Lin Ling said without any hesitation. The leader of the Creation Alliance was Senior Lu Chen, the 9 Lanterns Fish. Lin Ling was indebted to this person many times. Now that he was in trouble, Lin Ling would definitely not stand by and do nothing. All right, I'll do my best to investigate for you. I'll give you the news one day later. Lei Gong nodded. He did not expect Lin Ling to waste such a huge reward. Thank you, Lei Gong. Lin Ling bowed and left.
But he was still very worried.
The next day, Lei Gong also passed the news to Lin Ling, telling him the whereabouts of the Creation Alliance. Last night, Lei Gong also talked to the other gods. In the end, they all agreed that Lin Ling's guess was very likely. Therefore, they also needed scouts to find out more information. Lin Ling, you happen to be looking for the Creation Alliance. So, I'll let you investigate the roots of the Spirit Kingdom.
Remember safety first.
Lei Gong also let Lin Ling accept this trial mission.
Yes, Lord Lei Gong.
Lin Ling nodded and then left without stopping. He also had an astrolabe in his hand, which also recorded the whereabouts of the Creation Alliance. This was because the Spirit Kingdom was mysterious. Even the gods did not know their whereabouts. However, if it was the Creation Alliance, the gods could find their whereabouts. Therefore, finding the Creation Alliance was equivalent to finding the Spirit Kingdom. After leaving Lei Gong's hall, Lin Ling walked down the sea god stairs. This time, he appeared in Snow City as he wished. Then, Lin Ling did not stay for long. After stating his purpose, he immediately left. Regarding this, everyone was very worried. Nanwu Fengyu suggested to follow Lin Ling, but Lin Ling stopped him. At present, although Lei Gong had ordered people to protect Snow City, Lin Ling was still worried about the appearance of the Spirit Kingdom. Therefore, if Nanwu Fengyu stayed in Snow City, Lin Ling would have no worries. Seeing that Lin Ling wanted to go alone, Nanwu Fengyu could only nod helplessly. However, he also warned, Lin Ling, you must be careful. There are many people who want to harm you, and their origins are not simple. Yes. During this period of contact, he also knew that Lin Ling's enemies were very powerful. Luli Empress, the seventh prince, and now there was the mysterious Spirit Kingdom. These people all had the strength and influence to kill Lin Ling. Don't worry, it won't be easy to kill me, Lin Ling. Lin Ling said confidently. He currently had 2 life-saving trump cards. Even if he was not a match for them, it should not be difficult for him to escape unscathed. Therefore, he only took the giant ghost with him and then went on alone. Even the platinum evil ghost was left behind. With Lin Ling's current realm, the platinum evil ghost as a bodyguard could not protect him much. After leaving the final world, Lin Ling quickly appeared in the void. After checking the astrolabe in his hand, he moved in the direction indicated by the astrolabe. His speed was not slow at all. This was because he knew that the 9 Lanterns Fish Senior Lu Chen would be in more danger if he was late. Moreover, Lin Ling did not notify the God Slayer Alliance. He was afraid of alerting the enemy. Chapter 4090. Translator. Nyoibo Studio A Mysterious Interface. The Spirit Nations suddenly attacked the Creation Alliance, but their goal shouldn't be me. That white-robed woman recognized me, so she must have investigated the Creation Alliance beforehand and knew that Senior Lu Chen had a close relationship with me. So what is their goal? As he flew, Lin Ling was also thinking. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. Could it be that the Spirit Nation's goal was to unify the 9 prefectures' 10 evils? As soon as this thought arose, Lin Ling felt a chill in his heart. Each of the 10 vicious of the 9 provinces was an extremely terrifying existence. Take the land of eternal slumber for example. Although more than half of them were annihilated, the strongest leader was still alive. In a short period of time, the land of eternal slumber could rise from the ashes. If the Spirit Kingdom were to unify the 9 prefectures' 10 evils, the 9 prefectures would be plunged into a bloodbath. At that time, the will of the world would appear out of nowhere. As for the world will, Lin Ling didn't have the time to care whether it was a man or a woman, nor did he have any ambitions. However, he knew that the world will's goal was to destroy the world. Not only did they want to kill Lin Ling's wife and relatives, but they also wanted to kill Lin Ling himself. Just based on this point alone, Lin Ling could not possibly let the world will do whatever it wanted. After a long time, the astrolabe finally stopped in the direction it was pointing at. Lin Ling looked into the distance and saw that there was an interface there. The interface looked a little broken and ordinary. Ha! There were quite a few martial artists here. Soon after, Lin Ling realized that many martial artists from the final world had appeared in this seemingly ordinary world. It seemed like that plane wasn't simple at all. Lin Ling changed his blue robe and put on a black mask and a black robe. He floated towards the realm.
Moreover, his soul power also spread out to investigate everything. The entire interface was a little strange. Although there were many more powerhouses from the final world, Lin Ling sensed a faintly discernible power among them. This power was different from what Lin Ling had seen in the past, but it gave Lin Ling a familiar feeling. Be careful, that's the steps of God. At this moment, the giant ghost beside him reminded. At this moment, the giant ghost was still the size of a fist, but it was shrouded in black qi, and looked different from before. Obviously, it also knew that Lin Ling had many enemies. To avoid unnecessary trouble, it also hid its identity. After all, it was not impossible for others to recognize Lin Ling through it. The steps of God. Lin Ling was shocked. Up until now, this was the first time he had seen someone with the steps of God. A moment later, Lin Ling landed on the ground and looked into the distance. This realm looked very desolate, and there weren't many native martial artists. It looked like a dead zone. There are a lot of people over there. Then, Lin Ling looked to the east and led the giant ghost forward. Along the way, he quietly sensed some martial artists from the final world and roughly understood why they had come. These martial artists from the final world had come for a divine treasure. Although Lin Ling knew from the mouths of those martialists that no one dared to confirm this news, Lin Ling knew that just the two words divine treasures were enough for some people to take the risk and come here. Divine treasure? Could it be that the spirit nation used the divine treasure to deceive these people? But according to the rules, the spirit nation shouldn't have dared to make such a big fuss. Aren't they afraid of being targeted by the gods? Lin Ling's doubts grew. Then, he used the chaos ear to investigate again. Not many people know the secret of this divine treasure. We are the first batch to come here, so we will definitely have a good harvest. Hee. I also found out the secret through various dark channels. If I came a little later, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to drink the soup. The person who sold the information said that we would know the location of the divine treasure after finding the spiritual light city. The martial artists from the final world were flying quickly in the sky, whispering to each other. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Spiritual light city? This world is too desolate. It won't be easy to find the spiritual light city. Lin Ling looked into the distance again. These people seemed to be looking for the spiritual light city too. Beside him, the giant ghost also spoke. The two of them flew across the sky. However, at this moment, on the ground, among a pile of rocks, a stream of light shot out. This stream of light was white and its speed was incomparably fast. Rumble! As it shot towards Lin Ling, the surrounding space continued to collapse. This sneak attack was obviously incomparably sharp. However, Lin Ling had already fought thousands of battles since he started learning martial arts. Especially after coming to this mysterious world, he had already awakened 120% of his attention. Therefore, the tyrannical song sword instantly appeared in his hand and he slashed. Swish! The stream of light collided with the tyrannical song sword and was immediately split apart like a stream of water. Not good. Among the rocks on the ground, a ball of light exclaimed. Then, it followed the ground and quickly shot into the distance. Trying to escape. In the sky, Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. His speed of 5,000 worlds erupted and he chased after it in the sky. Behind Lin Ling, countless evil ghost jellyfish also rushed out and crazily harassed the person who was trying to escape. Great Earth Flame. Next, a small flame tornado appeared in Lin Ling's hand and he gently threw it towards the ground. Boom! The ground instantly shook. The golden flame burned everything and turned the surroundings into a furnace. However, the temperature was not hot. It was very strange. Then, the ground cracked open and a man in white walked out. His entire body was burning with flames as he gritted his teeth. Who are you? Why are you so strong? The man said as he walked. He was assimilated by the human king's flame and could not resist at all. However, to completely assimilate him, it would obviously take a certain amount of time. This also made Lin Ling secretly shocked. He sensed that there was a mysterious force in this man's body that was resisting his human king's flame. Of course, this resistance would not last for long. You're from the spirit nation. Lin Ling stared at the man's clothes and said indifferently. You actually know about the spirit nation? The man was very surprised because their spirit nation was very secretive. Not many people in the universal void knew about it. Hee. Did you come here because of my reputation?
However, from what I see, you still don't have the qualifications to enter the Spirit Nation.
Of course, if you beg me, there might be hope.
Hee hee. Then the man smiled faintly. You thought of the Spirit Nation too well. Hee hee. Lin Ling's heart suddenly moved as he activated the Human King's flame to speed up the assimilation.
The man was originally smiling faintly, but gradually felt that something was wrong because the person in front of him seemed to be very familiar with the Spirit Nation and had evil intentions.
Want to kill me? Dream on. Hee hee. Then, the man sneered and used some unknown method. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth and his soul dissipated. He would rather commit suicide than be assimilated by Lin Ling's power.
From this, it could be seen that his willpower was extremely firm.
Moreover, looking at his resentful gaze before he died, Lin Ling knew that this man could probably be resurrected. However, the man was not killed by Lin Ling. Even if he was resurrected, he would not be able to increase his strength. Instead, his strength might be weakened. This Spirit Nation is really difficult to deal with. Humph. Chapter 4091. Spiritual Light City. However, we can confirm that there is indeed a spiritual nation in this realm. The giant ghost said with certainty. The Creation Alliance must be here. Let's go. We must find them. Lin Ling nodded and continued to move forward. As they moved forward, a small town appeared in front of them. The town did not look big, but there were many people. Most of these martial artists came from Jojo. Some were at the martial ancestor realm. Some were at the half-step martial god realm. Some were at the martial god realm. The difference in their overall strength was huge. However, Lin Ling could guess that they were here for the divine treasure. Lin Ling immediately landed on the ground and slowly entered the town. In the town, there were many people who were hiding their identities like Lin Ling, causing the atmosphere to be somewhat chaotic. Your Excellency, do you know where Spiritual Light City is? Someone leaped behind Lin Ling and suddenly stopped and asked Lin Ling calmly. Am I not looking for it too? Lin Ling, who was wearing a black robe and a black mask, said in a low voice. Is that so? However, I have a feeling that you seem to know more than us. Therefore, you'd better tell us what you know. When the person saw Lin Ling's indifference, he was somewhat unhappy. In addition, he had searched the entire realm but could not find Spiritual Light City. Therefore, he wanted to capture Lin Ling to vent his anger. I do know more than you. However, I feel that if you attack, there will be one more corpse outside the town. Sensing the other party's anger, Lin Ling spoke indifferently. He looked calmly at the man and the other party did the same. However, soon, cold sweat appeared on the man's forehead. He did not know why, but he felt that the mysterious black-robed man was very powerful. He was afraid that he could kill him with a single thought. I'm sorry, Your Excellency. I was too impulsive. I'm sorry. The cold sweat on his forehead increased and his back was drenched in sweat. The man quickly bowed and saluted. Get lost. Lin Ling did not want to attract too much attention. Therefore, after saying this, he strode forward. With his current strength, he deserved to be called a senior in the 9 prefectures. After entering the small town, Lin Ling immediately discovered that although there were many people in the small town, it was also extremely lively. Some of the restaurants and inns were overcrowded. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something. Lin Ling also hurriedly found a restaurant and waited quietly. While Lin Ling was quietly waiting, a large number of people slowly walked past on the main street. Their arrogant auras caused the passers-by to make way for them. The leader of the group was a woman. Her appearance was also quite good. At this moment, she was looking around with displeasure. Is there really a divine treasure in this rural area? Princess Tian, it said that the news was spread by the Taoist of many treasures, so it's most likely true. After all, the Taoist of many treasures is a divine weapon merchant. A young man with an extraordinary bearing by the woman's side smiled faintly. He had long hair and wore a brown robe. A sword was embroidered on the chest of the robe with golden threads. Moreover, it seemed like the robe was of excellent craftsmanship, and it was probably a good treasure. How do you know that the news was spread by the Taoist of many treasures? As far as I know, the Taoist of many treasures is a greedy person. Without money, he wouldn't casually announce the news. The woman frowned and declined to comment. Looking at her attitude, she was very cold and arrogant,
as if she was superior to others. On the top floor of the restaurant, Lin Ling looked at the main street through the window, and his eyes instantly flashed. Princess Tian. He didn't expect to meet the woman who inherited Miao Shen's true teachings here. However, Lin Ling clearly didn't have time to pay attention to Princess Tian. Instead, he was pondering whether the news was true or false. Because the news was actually spread by the Taoist of many treasures? The Taoist of many treasures? Beside him, the giant ghost's eyes flashed. It and Lin Ling looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. This was because although the Taoist of many treasures was a divine weapon merchant, Lin Ling knew even more clearly that this person seemed to be related to the will of the world. When he had traded with the Taoist of many treasures, Lin Ling had also noticed the will of the world on his body. Don't worry, no matter whether it's true or not, I will protect you. At this time, on the main street beside the restaurant, the young man smiled again and spoke with a strong sense of confidence. Then, on behalf of Miao Shen's true teachings, I thank the Jin family. Hearing this, Princess Tian nodded slightly. With this young man's protection, Princess Tian didn't have to worry about her safety. This was because she knew that this young man came from the top academy among the 36 academies, the Heavenly Sword Academy. He was an expert who was ranked 123 on the stairway to heaven on the divine list. It could be said that with this young man around, many seniors at the martial god stage in the final world would be no match for him. The Jin family? Could it be the Jin family of the Imperial Sword? Suddenly, a sinister voice sounded on the main street. Then, two old men quietly walked over from the side of the road and blocked the path of Princess Tian and the others. You know the Jin family. Seeing that the intentions of the newcomers were unclear, the young man also walked forward and spoke with narrowed eyes. Around his body, divine energy shot out like needles and landed on the ground, causing thousands of holes to appear on the ground. I do. Your Jin clan's duke once injured one of my subordinates. The two old men wore large cloaks and had hunched backs as they spoke with a sneer. It was obvious that they had grudges with the Jin family. No wonder they immediately walked out when they heard the two words, Jin family. Although the Jin family wasn't a big family in the final world, it was still an existence that couldn't be underestimated. You're looking for the spiritual light city? Beg me. If I'm in a good mood, I might lead the way for you. Then, one of the old men took off his cloak and revealed a skinny face. However, this face was very disgusting and was full of scars. Moreover, if one looked carefully, those scars were sewn together with thread. As the old man spoke, the wound split open, but no blood flowed out. Instead, one could see flesh and blood. Spiritual Light City? The surrounding martial artists instantly looked over. However, when they saw that hideous face, they all frowned. That little girl looks pretty good. If you accompany me for a night, I'll definitely take you to the Spiritual Light City. The other old man also took off his cloak. He only had one eye, and the other eye was protruding out. It was extremely disgusting. Both of them had the same characteristic, which was that there were wounds on their faces that were sewn together with thread. Lin Ling also poked his head out of the window of the restaurant and stared at the street. Suddenly, he felt that the characteristics of the two old men were very familiar. Great Devil Sect. Then Lin Ling reacted. The Great Devil Sect's characteristic was to piece together demonic beasts. They cut off each part of the demonic beast and put it together to control it. That year in the Yen province, Lin Ling was chased by a great devil elder. After that, it was an Yuer who saved him. The Great Devil Sect had 5 great devil elders. One of the great devil elders had died. He was killed by Young Monster and Lin Ling. Right now, Lin Ling had a feeling that the two old men on the street were probably the great demon elders because they were not weak at all.
Chapter 4092. The 100 Sword Sect fought against the demon beast. You're missing an eye. Could it be that it was dug out by someone? You deserve it, but it's too easy for you to have an eye dug out. In my opinion, your mouth is so smelly, you should cut off your tongue. At this moment on the street, Princess Tian also said coldly. Because these two dirty old men actually dared to humiliate her? The young man beside her also said coldly. The two of you, each of you break an arm. For Princess Tian's face, I'll spare your lives. You really don't know life from death. The two old men narrowed their eyes, obviously angry. One of them said coldly, You don't know our identity,
Otherwise, would you dare to speak like this? Let me tell you, we are the demon elders of the 9 prefectures' 10 ferocious devil sect. I saw that your aptitude was not bad, so I gave you the opportunity to be my materials. Otherwise, I would have already destroyed you.
Great devil sect?
As soon as these words fell, the street instantly became silent. The people present naturally knew about the 9 prefectures' 10 ferocious devil sect. What surprised them the most was that the 2 who appeared here were actually 2 demon elders. Many people knew that the Great Devil sect had 5 demon elders, only second to the Great Devil God. Great Devil sect. Princess Tian and the young man also narrowed their eyes. They did not expect the other party to have such a big background.
Do you know fear?
Seeing that the 2 of them were silent, the 2 demon elders spoke again.
Fear?
What a joke. I only wanted to break one of your arms, but now, I want to break both of your arms and kill you. The young man's realm essence fluctuated and turned into the shape of a sword, soaring into the sky.
No wonder you stopped us from the beginning, so it's an old enemy.
Next, the young man's right hand turned into a sword and pointed forward. Ferocious divine power gushed out, turning into white swords that were controlled by him and shot forward in all directions.
100 Sword Sect. Rumble.
Heaven and earth immediately shook, and this world seemed to be about to shatter. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. That young man was so strong.
Sword Sect? Could it be an expert from the Sky Sword Academy? Someone even cried out in surprise. Heavenly Sword Academy was the #1 academy among the 36 academies. There was no need to doubt the strength of the students who graduated from this academy. The greatest characteristic of this academy was that they were incomparably powerful when it came to swords. Even Lin Ling took a second glance.
It was undeniable that in terms of sword control, that young man was slightly stronger than him, Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling's true inheritance, the dark sword, was also a flying sword, it was clearly not as proficient as that youth. However, Lin Ling also guessed that sword manipulation should be that youth's trump card.
Acquired divine fetus?
Looks like your father has spent a lot of treasures on you. Seeing this, one of the demonic elders also released a terrifying amount of demonic chi. The demonic chi turned into a giant bat and covered his back.
Come out!
The gigantic bat was as large as a mountain and incomparably black. However, a large number of black objects swam out from the bat. Upon closer inspection, they were actually small bats. These bats came in all shapes and sizes. Some of them had dragon horns, while others had tiger mouths. It was as if they were pieced together.
Swoosh! Swoosh!
Unorthodox. The youth snorted and controlled countless white swords to shoot at the bats.
Watch me cut them into pieces. Swoosh! 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 Swoosh!
The sharp white swords shot out, making the youth look extremely dashing and elegant like an immortal. However, those swords were indeed powerful. They were mixed with the power of divinity and the power of talent. Wherever they passed, a large number of bats were pierced and fell from the sky. The power of divinity has probably reached as many as 9 strands.
In the restaurant, Lin Ling nodded secretly. The youth's strength was not bad, as expected of an expert from Heavenly Sword Academy.
He has 9 strands of divinity at such a young age. The demonic elder's eyes narrowed. His cultivation level was similar to that of the youth, but his talent was slightly weaker. However, the number of demonic beasts he had pieced together was greater, so he had a certain advantage. However, the youth had too much divinity.
Come out!
Of course, the demonic elder beside him did not think that he could stop the youth alone.
Swoosh! 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 Swoosh!
After many poisonous insects crawled out, they immediately flew up. Some of them turned into poisonous mosquitoes and some turned into poisonous bees. However, these flying creatures all had the same characteristic, which was the phoenix feather. Their wings were pieced together by the phoenix feather.
What a big deal!
They actually used the phoenix from the era of gods as a material to piece together demonic beasts. Everyone was shocked. As expected of the Great Devil sect. In the field of piecing together demonic beasts, no one could compete with them.
Dirty insects! Disgusting! Come out!
Seeing this, Princess Tian also shouted. She opened her jade-like hands and a small exquisite pagoda appeared. Then she gently threw it out. Damn old man, In order to piece together these demonic beasts, the two of you must have prepared for tens of thousands of years.
Today I will destroy them all. Princess Tien's heart was also very vicious. She destroyed the efforts of others. Bitch! I didn't expect you to be so cheap at such a young age. The two demon elders were immediately infuriated. Swoosh! As for the small exquisite pagoda, after it floated out, it immediately emitted a colorful light. Then, the power of wind, thunder, snow, and fire gushed out and swept away everything in its path. As soon as the power came out, the poisonous insects and bats in the sky and on the ground were immediately destroyed. Seeing this, the two demon elders gritted their teeth and urged all their savings to fight against the small exquisite pagoda in the sky. What a terrifying treasure! The small pagoda seems to be emitting the power of God. A treasure that can release the power of God is definitely an innate divine weapon. Moreover, its level is not low. He is a true disciple of Miao Xin. How can he not have a treasure on him? So, this is a very normal thing. The onlookers had their eyes widened. At this moment, Lin Ling also appeared on the street from the restaurant because the restaurant he was in before had been destroyed by the battle. He stared at the small exquisite pagoda in the sky and was shocked. He estimated that it was a 7th grade innate divine weapon. Hee, Princess Tien, let me deal with this trash. There is no need to dirty your hands. The young man suddenly laughed and controlled the 100 swords to sweep over the demonic beasts. In his opinion, the Great Devil Sect was just an undeserved reputation. Although they were called the 9 Prefectures' 10 Evils, they were actually as fragile as tofu in front of the experts from the final world. Bang! Bang! After the flying swords were released, more poisonous insects fell to the ground. This also made the two demon elders feel pain in their hearts. The demonic beasts that they had stored for many years were almost completely destroyed by these two bitches. Chapter 4093. Careless. The flying swords pierced through the demonic beasts. In the end, all the demonic beasts were destroyed. The ground was filled with poisonous insects, twitching slowly. It was a terrifying sight. What other tricks do you have? Seeing the demonic beasts destroyed, Princess Tien spoke indifferently. What other tricks can they have? They can only wait for death. Not far away, the young man laughed contemptuously. Don't be happy too early. However, the two demon elders spoke at the same time. Their words made Princess Tien and the others frown. They were dying, yet they were still so confident? I've said it before. I'll cut off your tongues and then kill you. However, Princess Tien clearly did not believe the words of the two demon elders. Look at your exquisite pagoda. However, the next sentence of the demon elder finally made Princess Tien frown. Then, her expression changed greatly. She realized that she had lost control of her divine weapon. The exquisite pagoda, which was still floating in the sky, became dimmer and dimmer. Its surface was covered with dirty blood. The dirty blood continued to spread. Then with a clang, the exquisite pagoda fell from the sky and completely lost its luster. This made everyone cry out in alarm. What was going on? It's corroded. The corrosive power came from the blood of the demonic beasts. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. He had figured out something. The demonic beasts seemed to have been destroyed by Princess Tien. In fact, before they were destroyed, the demonic beasts also spilled blood. The blood had a mysterious power. When it came into contact with the divine weapon, it would immediately corrode the divine weapon and cut off the connection between the divine weapon and its owner. Of course, the effect of one drop of demonic beast blood was not great. However, with so many demonic beasts here, the exquisite pagoda naturally could not withstand it. Ha ha ha, laugh. Let's see how you can laugh now. Seeing the divine pagoda fall, the two demon elders laughed loudly. The heavenly princess continued to draw runes in an attempt to control the exquisite little pagoda. However, the exquisite little pagoda remained motionless. This caused her to angrily shout, "What did you do to my frost red lotus pagoda?" "Filthy things, Princess Tien. Don't worry, I'll kill them." When the young man saw this, he immediately said coldly, "Whoosh, whoosh." His 100 swords drew a beautiful trajectory and immediately shot towards the two old men. However, the two old men were still laughing loudly, as if they had not seen anything. Laugh. Wait till I dig out your eyeballs.
Let's see how you laugh then. In the young man's eyes, the laughter was like mockery, and he shouted angrily. However, just as those swords were about to reach the two demon elders, all of a sudden, swords fell from the sky. Clang! Clang! After the 100 white swords fell, the town instantly fell silent. The young man's pupils constricted as he summoned the white sword. However, there was no effect at all.
Weren't you very proud? Aren't you good at talking? Aren't you good at pretending? Now, show me another one.
Looking at the two demon elders, they were in high spirits at this moment.
You've been tricked.
Then they laughed even louder.
What? You can even corrode with the power of God?
The young man's body finally trembled and his face turned pale.
I was careless. I should have killed you first, not the assembled demonic beasts.
Now, he finally knew that the other party came prepared.
Jin Zhe, you're too ignorant.
After laughing, the two demon elders finally said coldly, "We have a great feud with the Jin family.
How could I not be familiar with your sword techniques?
However, although we targeted your sword techniques, as you said, if you killed us first, we wouldn't have been able to resist. Unfortunately, you tried to kill all of our assembled demonic beasts because of your pride and pretentiousness. In the end, you ended up like this, ha ha ha." Hearing the demon elder's words, the young man's face turned even paler.
He almost slapped himself. Idiot! Now, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the girl and let us have some fun. Perhaps you won't have to die.
The other demon elder laughed sinisterly.
The young man's eyes flashed. How dare you? Hearing this, Princess Tian also shouted. Her usual arrogance had weakened a little at this moment, because she also knew that she would not have a good ending if she fell into the hands of the two demon elders.
Fine. However, what made her angry was that the young man nodded directly.
Aren't you here to protect me on behalf of the Jin family?
If something happens to me, the true disciple of Miao Shen will not let the Jin family go.
This also made Princess Tian furious. I'm sorry. My life is more important.
The young man gritted his teeth and said word by word. After saying this, he lowered his head in shame.
Ha ha ha.
The two demon elders laughed even louder when they saw that the young man had betrayed the heavenly princess.
They were obviously overjoyed.
But soon, one of the demon elders pounced on the young man and kicked him hard on the head like a whip.
Bang!
The young man's head exploded as if it had been struck by lightning, and his brain matter spurted out.
Dead.
An expert from the Heavenly Sword Academy had fallen here. Obviously, the two demon elders had come for him and would not let him go.
Whoosh!
The young man's headless body also shot into the street and broke through the wall, causing the crowd to panic and avoid it. However, in the end, the young man's body was burned clean by a flame, and it was a golden flame.
Unfortunately, the two demon elders did not see this scene. Instead, they looked at Princess Tian. What a pitiful little girl. Originally, this matter had nothing to do with you, but you walked together with Jin Zhe.
Now, it's impossible for us to not kill you. The two demon elders walked step by step towards Princess Tian, and their ferocious faces had a hint of ferocity.
Plop! Princess Tian was so scared that she sat down on the ground.
Her strength was not strong, and she only had a powerful identity and a divine weapon. However, her strongest divine weapon had been corroded due to her carelessness, so now she had no power to resist.
I am a true disciple of Miao Shen. If you dare to touch me, you will definitely die. Be careful that the great demon sect will be destroyed.
However, Princess Tian obviously would not let herself be captured, and she was still looking for an opportunity. If it was before, I would not have dared to touch you, but now, the great demon sect has found a powerful backer. They are not even afraid of the gods, so why should we be afraid of Miao Shen's true disciple? One of the demon elders immediately said disdainfully. After speaking, he looked up and down at Princess Tian, as if he could see through Princess Tian. Princess Tian also had a feeling that her clothes were being stripped off, which made her panic more and more. She was most afraid of this kind of person who did not give face to Miao Shen's true disciple.
I can give you treasures.